catch a woman to say, this in Wanya, Abukodo Anchimo. Na media me catch him, sir. More for Mopa Mozambique, because Mammy at Timun in Egum, I'm sure them.
And now over 2 more. That this is not one that I am going to answer. No, 2 more. Not for Mamma. Moko, I'm going for the somebody people from. About 2 million. So what you catch him. I must have catch him. Said, 2 million.
Galamsey Fight, and them 2 million free months.
Galamsey, I wanted to have 1 year now. And then 2 people that would tell us about Galamsey. You have a full sack, but you don't have a full sack.
Sabronim Nimon Mabono.
Since I'm on a new and a mabono.
Na mama nkrofo abenum su obata work and abeyar sika wo penti
so say am ensu a ya bo ho ka amasa bo num se be no to won enom mo be sign no di no gum o wo se be mo ya fu ani sa mo penti
edi mo yeah friends assembly member no ne
assembly member no
unit committee member no
so
yo baka and penny for no ja one ya mon kan chem one mo de pa mon kan chem
o se be say penny for de se ko no na aka no
aka akomo yen ko mo aka nyina ene o mo fi akonwa nto ne enko
se de kuro no be se won sa yo
mo ro en pabo
mo ro mabo
And good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for making the time to join us this morning. It's a generally rainy morning, a wet one for that matter, and coming a day after we celebrated the World Rivers Day obviously comes as a blessing. But the concern that we have this morning is that while these rains fall clean, they get into water bodies that are polluted as a result of illegal mining, and we are all exposed to this risk as we have it. As we've seen now, Galamsey, this conversation has become a cyclical one. Every now and then it comes up, it becomes a topical issue. We all get emotional about it. Everybody talks about it. Bodies issue statements, and then the season goes down. We move on to the next issue while people continue to die. This cannot continue. And we cannot keep doing the same things and expect different results. And it is for this reason that we here at Media General have put together this all-important conversation this morning. And we call it the Galamsey Fight. Beyond the talk, what next? So beyond all the talk that we have experienced or seen and heard over the last almost 6 weeks that this matter became topical again, what next do we have to do to ensure that after all the talk, measures have been put in place so that we improve on the crisis situation that we are faced with as we speak as a country? My name is Alfred Okanse, and for and on behalf of the group CEO, Madam Beatrice Ajiman, and the entire leadership of Media General, I welcome you to this morning's program. Shall we please put our hands together? Thank you very much. Thank you. And for those of you watching us live, we're coming to you from the Executive Theatre here at TV3. We're also live on 3FM 92.7. We're live on Facebook at TV3 Ghana on Facebook, also on DSTV channel 279 all across the world on 3news.com. And with this out of the way, I'll kindly ask that you help me welcome the Executive Director of the organization that has graciously helped us to put this all-important program together, partnering us to make sure that we also create this all-important platform for us to talk, not just talk about it, but also propose solutions to this existential threat that we're faced with, illegal mining, today. And please help me make welcome Mustafa Walewe Saidu. He is a private legal practitioner, Executive Director of the Nature and Development Foundation. Let's put our hands together as we welcome him. Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for honoring our invitation this morning. Let me take the advantage and express our gratitude to TV3. We are extremely grateful to your management, especially because this matter we are discussing today is a public interest matter. And it is only institutions that are of interest and have interest of this country that will be interested in discussing public interest matter. Distinguished speakers here, invited participants, colleagues, media persons present, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of myself, the staff of Nature and Development Foundation, it is my pleasure to extend a warm felicitation and warm welcome to all stakeholders to this forum on the theme Galamsey Fight, Beyond the Talk, What is Next? Ladies and gentlemen, exactly a year ago, Nature and Development Foundation, in collaboration with Arocha, Welcome, and Oxfam, organized a stakeholder engagement at Alisa Hotel. In that forum, we brought your attention about the fact that there's a legal regime for mining in forest reserves. In fact, it shocked a lot of us. That law is called Environmental Protection Mining in Forest Reserve Regulation 2022, LI 2462. We call it infamous law. Infamous law because, in our opinion, it's a bad law. We further brought your attention that after 2022, that's November 2022, there was unprecedented rush, indeed a mad rush for leases and prospecting licenses in forest reserves. Indeed, the Kakum National Park, as of that time, was one of the candidates forest reserve under consideration. Likely after that event, it was quickly deleted from the Mineral Commission's website. Well, we haven't seen mining going on there, and then we hope that that story about Kakum is dead, and that there's no longer mining going to go on in Kakum National Park. Ladies and gentlemen, subsequently, we didn't go to sleep. Subsequently, after that event, we wrote a number of petitions and engaged a number of people. In fact, we wrote a petition to the President, to the Speaker of Parliament, to the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology, to the Ministry of Forestry and Natural Resources, and to the diplomatic community that LI 2462 ought not to come into being. And that once it has come, it is our civic responsibility that that law must be repealed immediately. And then we say so for a number of reasons. That LI 2462 is a reversal of all our international commitments for sustainable forest management, for conservation, for climate change, for every public policy we have actually put in place to ensure that we have a green space, a green environment in this country. Because just imagine that every forest reserve in this country is a candidate mining site. It is unbelievable. At the time last year, there were 8 mining reserves which were granted mining leases. I mean, mining leases were granted in 8 mining reserves already at the time last year. 14 were being considered for prospecting and being evaluated for further mining leases. In fact, on the Mineral Commission website, there has not been further indication of increase in terms of the numbers. But what we know is that a lot more is going on than are being reported under the Mineral Commission's website. For example, we know of the Bui National Park. There are currently 3 applications standing there under Bui National Park for prospecting. Bui National Park. Okay, so don't be surprised if the Moli National Park is granted for prospecting or mining licenses. It's actually crazy. And again, we say so because as recent as the 12th of September 2024, the Ghana Institute of Foresters, which is a professional body comprising of foresters, majority of whom comes from the Forestry Commission, indicated that 37 forest reserves so far have been impacted by illegal mining. In fact, they indicate that some of them have been heavily destroyed beyond recognition as forest reserves. And some of these include the Apamprama Forest Reserve, the Oda River Forest Reserve, Subin Shelter Bed Forest Reserve, Asenanyon Forest Reserve, and then some of them indeed have become no-go area. A no-go area in the sense that the people who are mining, they are so heavily mined that the forest guard or whoever is coming from forestry is even afraid to go into the forest. You can imagine. So the landlord has been overthrown. The squatters have now become the new landlords. So we believe that this issue is going out of hand. And a lot of professional bodies and groupings think that the issue of illegal mining, mining in forests, mining in river bodies is a national security issue. And it has gone beyond the daily talk shop that we do. And so a group of us, civil society organizations and individuals led by Arusha Ghana, we issue a writ this month against government to revoke LI 2462. That is for the court to consider our argument, and if the court agree with that, we think that that law was made contrary to procedural and substantive law requirement as enshrined in our laws in this country. Because we think that if that law is not taken off our books in the next few decades, and I dare say maybe just 10 years, even it is too much, 10 years is too far, that we may never have anything called a natural forest. We probably will have plantations after we have done all the mining. We'll try to put some semblance of trees there. That will look like in the savannah, but not a pure forest. That will be a madness for us. And so for us, we took the matter to court because that is in line with our shared commitment to the right to safe and clean environment as enshrined in the Constitution and the protection of Ghana's natural resources for current and future generations. And then we think that posterity will judge us for the action that we have taken. And so on that basis, I encourage each of us to take action in his little way, because the threat of mining and illegal mining generally is no longer an option for us to sit down and wish that somebody else take an action. that we all have a responsibility as citizens, but more so as government. But the government acts based on what the citizens want. So maybe if we cry loud enough, government will hear us. But indeed, I've talked about some of the issues that we have taken up because we are naturally dealing with issues of forests and not so much of water. But indeed, the connection between forest and water is so close because you need the forest to be there to maintain the water bodies. Indeed, there are so many forests there that have been named after water bodies because a lot of the waters take their source from the forest. Indeed, as ordinary people, what we see is that we see a water body. But that water body takes its source from somewhere. In fact, a few people actually know where the water comes from. And indeed, I say most of the times that we think that the water comes from the tap. Your water does not come from your tap. It comes from somewhere very far from your city. And if that water dries out, or if that water is polluted, your tap will not flow. So let's think about it. So talking about water and health, you know, we recently had the Ghana Water Company threatening to shut down a number of their water processing facilities because of the elevated level of turbidity. I hear Ghana has the highest level of turbidity in some of our water bodies than anywhere in the world. That's embarrassing, to say the least. But this is what we can all see. Perhaps if you fetch the water in a bottle, you will see that it's like a very creamy, milky, like some people want their Milo. But what we cannot see with our naked eye is the heavily polluted, heavy metal pollution of the water. So the mercury and the lead and the arsenic in the water. In fact, when we even boil the water, I don't even know when you boil the water, does it take the mercury away? Okay. And we are very quick to think that the Ghana water is not clean. So the option is what? Pure water, sachet water. Where does the sachet water come from? Or the water in the sachet, where does it come from? Does our filtration system take away the heavy metals? I don't know. But maybe psychologically we think that we are safe by drinking sachet water. We are probably not safe. In fact, I'll ask more questions. What is the impact of the heavily polluted soils and the waters on our cocoa? I know this country has depended on cocoa for decades as one of the main sources of foreign exchange. This year, or maybe last cocoa season, our cocoa declined for about half of the previous year's yield. So from 800 to less than 500 metric ton. This year may not be different. The reason may not necessarily be all attributable to illegal mining, but there's a contribution of illegal mining to the cocoa problem. Because if the land is taken away, and we see on videos when people are clearing the cocoa to plant to do galamsey, I think those are frightening pictures we see. And if we leave it and say these are private people, they can use their land to do whatever they want to do, that's a shame. And as a country, if we don't take actions to encourage people and to put measures in place for people to leave their cocoa on their land, we will run into another ditch, but having nothing in respect to our cocoa. And the health implications. But most importantly, the rule of law and the national security implications of illegal mining in Galamsey. Before I take my seat, there was something I was reading about the Constitution I found very interesting. It's one of the fundamental things about our constitution. I just want to read to you Article 1, Clause 1. And I was just reflecting on it when I was driving. It says, the sovereignty of Ghana resides in the people of Ghana, in whose name and for whose welfare the powers of government are to be exercised in a manner and within the limits laid down in the Constitution. I want to ask a question. Is the powers of government exercised with respect to Galamsey illegal mining in the interest and on behalf of the people? I don't know the answer, but your guess is as good as mine. Ladies and gentlemen, let me once again welcome you and to say that we are extremely grateful to have you here and to wish you a fruitful discussion and to hope that after this program, we are going to have an elevated level of the calls for government to take an immediate action. And this is in line with what TUC and all the professional bodies have issued. On that note, I welcome you once again. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Mustafa Saidu heads the Nature and Development Foundation, our partners and funders for this all-important conversation we're having this morning. I appreciate you. And on that point that you ended with the TUC, today is the 25th. We are some 5 days away from that deadline that they gave government to announce measures, pragmatic measures to deal with this existential threat that we're faced with illegal mining. So the countdown is on, and the program and this conversation we're having this morning is part of that reminder of what has to be done to ensure that we deal with this matter once and for all. We cannot continue the talk and the emotional outburst about illegal mining when people continue to die. We have a video here that we play on TV3 and also on 3FM where there's a woman who prepares acheke. How many of you like acheke? Yeah, she prepares acheke in the Western region. All of you raise your hand. You might be eating acheke filled with mercury. You have no idea. Because there's alum, she buys 20 Ghana cedis worth of alum, use it to purify the water, to prepare the acheke for you and I to eat. She says she actually sells some in Accra. She's prepared. You can imagine. So the acheke you ate last night has some mercury in it. That's the danger we are faced with right now. And to talk about that, let's go into the issues of the impact on agriculture. And thankfully, we have a number of persons here. I would acknowledge your presence as we go on. I'll kindly ask that we put our hands together as we acknowledge the presence of the General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union, Mr. Edward Karewe. Thank you. Also, we have Brigadier General Nono Mensah, retired former National Security Advisor, and he has a lot to his name. You will hear a lot more from him as we go on. Thank you very much for making the time to join us, Brigadier Nono Mensah. Also, we have joining us the coordinator for eco-conscious citizens, Awula Sewa. Awula, thank you so much for making the time to join us as well. We also do have Dr. Charles Nyaba, is the former president of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. Thank you. We also have here the Professor Osei Achenebona, is the Acting Director General of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, and the Director of Water Research Institute, but currently acting as the Director General. He doesn't want me to say that, but that's who you are, Acting Director General of CSIR. Please, let's put our hands together for him. Prof, thank you so much for coming. And on this note, we would hear how illegal mining is impacting on agriculture in many ways. And I'll start off with the peasant farmers. Dr. Charles Naba, please. Let's make welcome Dr. Charles Naba. Thank you.
Good morning. I thought with this important national issue, I would have been given more time to deliberate, but I've just been informed that I have 5 minutes. I want to first of all thank the organizers of this program. There couldn't have been a better time to do this than now. Currently, we all know our food situation. Food inflation since last year has been the major lead of the inflation basket. And without food, we cannot talk of national security. We cannot all be sitting here. If you look at all the mining areas or Galamsey operating areas, the same areas are known for our major food basket in some years ago. But today we cannot talk of that again. All this can be attributed to Galamsey. We have a lot of outgrowers farmers who produce various types of food, maize, cassava, rice, in northern part of the country and in Volta region. Today, when you go there, you will never get the youth who will be interested in being part of agriculture again. Majority of them move to Galamsey operating areas because they get quick money. So our agriculture is virtually left in the hands of the aged. So that is one area that we need to pay attention to. When you go to the main Galamsey operating areas, like Pristia, Obuasi, Amanshe in the Asante region, Bogoso, and many other places, major crops that we used to get from there. For example, if you take Obuasi some years back, we used to get the sweetest citrus and other oranges from that place. Today, when you go to Obuasi, they have to depend on importation of citrus from other areas. Cocoa is our major cash crop. We had the highest cocoa in the yields and productivity in 2021, around 1 million metric tons. Today, it's about 580,000 metric tons. And I'm not a prophet. I can bet you what is going on if this will continue. In some few years to come, we will not have any cocoa to export. You take cassava, maize, most of the Galamsey growing areas were known for supply of cassava and maize. Today, they all have to depend on other regions for this commodity. So the issue of Galamsey and its effect on food production is something that we cannot doubt it. It's not something that anybody can debate. Last week, I was fortunate to be part of a team that the Ministerial Committee on Galamsey were engaging. We met the small scale miners. We told them clearly, because they said our call for ban on all form of Galamsey or small scale mining was going to throw about 1.something million of their members out of business. We have over 2 million smallholder farmers, majority of whom are peasant farmers. Forestry Commission released a data that about 1.5 million of those farmers have lost their farmlands. And now some of them have joined the Galamsey activity and others to migrated to other areas. So it means all those people have lost their livelihoods. This is a priority of the nation. Do we want to maintain the 1 million smallholder miners who are destroying our water bodies, who are destroying our farmlands, who are causing harm to the environment? or we want to maintain our food security and ensure that we have clean drinking water, we have quality food that we cannot be eating and be afraid that we are taking mercury. According to World Health Organization, mercury causes a lot of damage to the farmers themselves and the galamseyers, because one, it finds its way into your body. There's nothing you can do. It's a metal. It's unlike other things like other chemicals that you say, okay, with time it will be digested. But today, go to Galamsey operating areas. Majority of them, about 90%, who do the who mine in the rivers are using mercury, and the deposits are left in the water, which we always say is purified before we drink or use it for other things. We have farmers in Sama area. Last week we were there. They are growing rice around the one of the dams there. According to them, if they use the water to irrigate their farms, it actually affects the yields. So if the crops are even drying up and then they allow them and the rainwater comes, those crops are different from using water from the river. So this is what we are going through. And we as an association are of the view that if you all don't join the fight, so in a few years to come, the crisis that we are having now is going to be worsened. Because the crises are not limited to only availability of the food that we eat, but also the labor to even produce. Some farmers gave us testimonies that in some of the areas, even if you don't want to sell your cocoa farm, the chief and the miners will go and do negotiation and they'll give you 1,500 Ghana cedis for a plot. If you don't agree, before you realize all your neighboring farms are being mined and then they will even dig pits, you won't even get access to your farm. So you have no option than to also release your farm. There are many of them, because they polluted the surrounding farms. When they farm, the yields are so bad. So they voluntarily also sold their farms or partner with other people to come and do the mining, instead of continue to mine and find alternative jobs. So it means in a few years to come, all those mining areas, we are not going to have any agricultural activities taking place. People are talking about reclaiming the lands. To be very honest with you, that reclamation project is not working. Even if they reclaim all those lands, it will take several years before those lands will become fertile for any agricultural activities. When we come to the forest vegetation, almost we lost all our natural forest vegetation. The recent climate change that we have experienced, which people are talking of drought spell, which destroyed almost about 60% of farms in northern Ghana, Bono region, and part of the forest area, can partly be attributed to the way we have destroyed our forest lands for Galamsey activities. So in terms of impact of Galamsey on our food security is something that we cannot be measured. But the impact, at least for now, there are many who think that we are exaggerating the situation. But per our projections and projections by Forestry Commission and the Ministry of Food and Agri itself, the rate at which Galamsey activities is taking place across the country, if this rate will continue in the next 10 years, I can bet you that all those areas we cannot boast of any food security or supply of food to other areas. So we have two messages, and we stand by that. That there is urgent need for banning on all Galamsey activities in rivers and then in the forest vegetation. Whether it's legal or illegal, it should be banned. Now we should also allow community to take control of actually watching, serving as a security to the lands where we operate Galamsey. Because we have lost confidence in all the committees that government has set up to control Galamsey. Because I saw the video that was played and the commitment by our president. It didn't work. And there were several committees that were set in the past. It didn't work. So we are calling that communities should take control of their own lands. Anybody who is caught doing any form of Galamsey in those communities, the community have the right to arrest them as performing or doing illegal activity. So once again, since I don't have enough time, I want to thank you again, and that we stand by you, whatever position you take that will help either address or stop this menace. The Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana will always support you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Charles Nyaba. And rightly so, we're using our hashtag, Use Your Voice. Use your voice, because silence is not an option anymore while we continue to die as a result of illegal mining. We're all seeing the threats that we're faced with. And at this point, we cannot continue in any way to go through that vicious cycle of doing the same things and expecting different results. We have a few people to acknowledge as well. The Honorable Andy Apiakobi is a member of Parliament for the Asante Achim North constituency on the ticket of the NPP. Let's put our hands together for him. Every time I get to meet him, he tells me confidently that there's no Galamsey happening in his constituency. And I want to believe that because I haven't been there. So I'll come and see, because next to your constituency, Asante Achim Central, that's where Konongo is. And just some 6 weeks ago, there was some heavy Galamsey going on the Konongo-Accra highway. Your colleagues, they said they didn't see it. When about 7 excavators were busily destroying wetlands in that area. But what is so different? What are you doing differently in your constituency that shares border with another constituency that is heavily degraded as a result of illegal mining? That's what we want to hear from you as we go on. Not now. Not now. Thank you. Also acknowledge the presence of the Mr. Ebo. Ebo is with Echo Care. Obed, I beg your pardon. Let's put our hands together for Obed. Thank you. Thank you very much. We also will be joined shortly virtually by a few other persons as well who will be connecting with us. But at this moment, we want to hear from a man who headed at some point the institution that issues mining licenses to miners. Because we understand that this war is not just about illegal miners. There are some licensed companies that are engaged in illegal mining. And so we want to find out where is the missing link, what has to be done differently. Dr. Tony Obin is former CEO of the Minerals Commission. Please, let's put our hands together for him to share a brief speech with us.
Thank you very much. And I'm sure there have been protocols already, and I wouldn't waste time on any protocols, just to acknowledge all of us here. And also render my gratitude to the organizers of this program. It's extremely important. In this country, I think truth and honesty has become a very hard commodity. To speak truth to power is a risky activity these days. And so when we see A, we say it's Z or X, and until we start confronting the truth and committing to addressing issues thereof, we are not going to go anywhere. The issue of Galamsey address, I hope it's okay. Yes. We know the way to address them, but we deliberately decide to talk about them. We have become a talk shop. You will recall when COVID hit, it took the leadership of this country, in fact, it took the president a speech from his window, like the Pope giving the blessings to people who visit him in Vatican, for all of us to sleep. He said, fellow Ghanaians, sleep. If you don't sleep, COVID will catch you. And all of us. Not everybody was happy with that. But by the force and the power that was vested in our president, he said that everybody went to sleep. Why are we mining on water bodies, which the law says clearly don't? There's no law in Ghana that allows anyone to mine in water bodies. So anytime you see anybody on water bodies, by default, the person is doing illegal mining. The lawyer says that somebody must prove illegality. But this one there, it's a conspicuous one. The law says simply, don't mine on water bodies. And even when concessions are granted, these concessions are granted 100 meters away from water bodies. Water Resources Commission says 30 meters. Minerals Commission says 100 meters. And do you know how long 100 meters is? You have to go to the stadium where one goal post is and the other goal post where people are struggling to score. That's about 100 or 110 meters. That's how far small-scale mining or Galamsey must be away from water bodies. So the water bodies that we see being spoiled, we see them. Security people see them. They go there. And I'm happy to see my uncle here, General. Yes. So I think these are things that we see and we are not doing anything. I know, I have witnessed and I've written about the fact that sometimes getting to elections time, presidential candidate goes around and say, they know. In their heart, they don't agree with what they are saying. But to please the people, they say it. They say that when I come, Galamsey, no problem. It is not only yesterday. It wasn't only 2016. And it wasn't only one candidate who has said that before. And then when they come, they want to sort of address the situation. It is because the citizens have not added our voices to some of these things. The question is not about stopping small-scale mining. For me, I mean, not now. I'm not saying stop it forever. Eventually, even if there will be moratorium, there will be some stoppage and all that, yes, that is possible. But eventually, since you have gold under the belly of our earth, God has given that to us, and God is testing us to see how wise we are to exploit them without doing the damage that we are doing to ourselves. So I believe that the president is listening and watching some of these programs, and I'm sure he would take some of the comments we make, not in a negative way, but in a positive way. How can we make a law? And I've been wondering why that law, that LI was passed. The LI that allows for mining in the forest. In fact, prior to that, there was a policy that 2%, it's only 2% of a reserve forest would be allowed for exploration, and when some finds are made, mining, and that there was some rigorous requirement for you to first get the access to the place. You needed forest entry permit, and then after your processes, there was some rigorous requirement for you to even mine. So, in the midst of the cry against illegal mining, in the midst of the cry globally that we need our forests to sequestrate carbon dioxide, and then we sit down and think and draft a regulation that says, go to the forest, you don't need forest entry permit. We know the problem, and we are causing them more. I can't take far. I wonder self. The young people say these things. I wonder self. Myself, I wonder self. You see. So I think we are not sincere to ourselves. We need, and that law must be repealed. I think it must be repealed without fail. And I believe the president may be listening, and I'm sure he's probably thinking, because the level of outcry against that LI is humongous. And I've heard some people say that, but Parliament passed the law. We have two parties in Parliament and all that. I think that is unnecessary when it is a problem. And those of you who have been in Parliament, Honorable is here. The way Parliament works, when it's an LI, it is placed in Parliament, and if there's no objection anywhere, if there's no debate, 21 days, it's a law. And the person who told me that the law, he said it was a parliamentarian. No. If you are not careful, there's a law coming which would allow for mining in the forest. And then I checked. I said, but the law has been passed. Said, no, it hasn't been passed. Then there's a parliamentarian. He didn't even know that that law had been passed. So it was from the executive, came to the legislature. Please, executive, go and repeal that law. It is inimical to our environment. It is inimical to our well-being, and let us accept that. Let us not trivialize the situation. I have heard people, in fact, even me, my picture has gone round, saying, listen to Dr. Tony Obi. He said, I have written, when you Google, you'll find what I've done. I went to a place observing. I went to some of the community mining and other mining places. Never spoke a word. Never uttered a word. Yet, it became an issue that somebody is asking them. And even if I would ask them, without accepting that, to mine, am I that powerful person to be able to cause this guy? It's a serious problem. It's not about talk. It's about action. So I think that, first of all, Mr. President must announce, must come back to fellow Ghanaians again and say, fellow Ghanaians, no mining on water bodies. And when you are seen mining, straight away, and I believe he will do that. Fellow Ghanaians, I said we should do the forest, whatever, mining in the forest, but no. We have taken it out. I think it will bring confidence. Otherwise, nobody is confident that we're able to resolve this. When you talk to the same things, talk, let us see action. The use of military is good, but not sustainable. It has been done before. A few years ago, I was in Ivory Coast on the OECD program, and I told them, yes, there's a natural thing that goes on. If you send soldiers to places where the person is going to stop, soldiers are probably one of the most honest group now, in this country, in terms of discipline. These days, they are learning the bad habit of other people. Otherwise, soldiers could be said to be one of the most disciplined people. Yet, you take the guy there, and there were some soldiers who went there and said they won't be soldiers again. They resigned because there was proper job, in quote, there that gave them more money. I heard, and I don't know for a fact, that there were soldiers who were being prepared to go to Congo for, in those days, when General and Co were there, going to Lebanon was a very good thing for you, because that's where you got some dollars and all that. These days, rather, they would want to go and protect Galamsey and then earn some more money. So you send a soldier who can be, convinced with some 50,000 something. He might decide between his God and his family what to do. So it is good, show of force is good, but it's not a permanent solution. We need to have a permanent solution to small-scale mining that will not destroy our forests. I have a lot to say, but I think others must say something, and I also believe that the conversation is not ending. In fact, the conversation should not end before action. Actions should start now before the conversation can continue. I thank you very much, and God bless us all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tony Obin. Action must start now as the conversation goes on. Thank you very much. Former CEO of the Minerals Commission, and also now an advocate against illegal mining. I was hoping that as we go on, you tell us how some of these laws would help check small-scale mining companies that are also engaged in illegal mining. There are laws there. So what next? And we're going to get into the panel conversation in the next few minutes ahead of us. But because Dr. Tony Obi mentioned the military, I would want to acknowledge the presence of Dr. Jamal Seydou Tanzwa, who is a private legal practitioner. He is a lecturer at the Gimpa Law School and also a former legal advisor to Operation Vanguard. Please, let's put our hands together. So talk about Operation Vanguard. I think it was the first group of officers who were sent into the bush to go and stop illegal mining. But with all the issues that came with Operation Vanguard, you are here, so you tell us. Also, thankfully, we have the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission. You remember just a few days ago, they issued a statement detailing how this illegal mining is impacting on us with issues that we can't even see with our eyes. And to give us just a 5 minutes presentation We have Dr. Frank Kobla Kwashi. He's the Vice President of the Research Scientists Association, Ghana Atomic Energy Commission. Just a few words from you before we get into the panel conversation. Please, let's put our hands together. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I also like to stand on the existing protocols. Like he said, I'm from GAEC with the Research Scientists Association. On the 18th of September, together with our brothers from CSIR, the Research Staff Association, we issued this press statement. And what we are trying to say is that currently, Galamsey has become a national security threat. And it affects all of us. We've said the environmental issues. Currently, we are talking about climate change a lot. There's a lot of issues about climate change, and there are a lot of things coming out from Galamsey because of climate change. So for us as researchers, we've done a lot of work in these Galamsey areas. Almost all our water bodies have been destroyed. Now going there to even do research work has become more expensive, because sometimes you don't even get access to the places you have to do this research. So it's very difficult for even our own researchers to come out with proper findings, because you don't get access to these Galamsey sites and you are troubled. We also know that, as has been said already, Ghana water, we are all complaining. Now we are rationing water. And these are issues of Galamsey. You may think it's not affecting you here because you are not close to a water body, but we all use water. There are serious health implications. People have talked about mercury, arsenic. Most of these heavy metals bioaccumulate in us. These heavy metals, and research have found out that most of them some have serious carcinogens. And we develop these health issues without knowing the cause. Because some studies that you need to do to know, I have cancer. What form of cancer do I have? Is it cancer of the lungs? Where is it coming from? We are not able to do these epidemiological studies here to know this is the real cause of this cancer. So what the Research Scientists Association of both Ghana Atomic Energy Commission and CSIR are saying, like we said, with this EPA forest law, Honorable is here, maybe when he gets the time, he will explain to us how we can repeal this law, because we think that is the first thing that should go. As researchers, we don't understand why we should have a law that will because we have biodiversity issues. As God created this world, there are certain things God himself has put in the world to control nature. But as human beings, if we destroy it, we are destroying our own selves. So we as researchers, we believe this is the way to go. We also believe that government should liaise with the research institutions. We are talking of reclamation of these fields. You have researchers you are paying money to, but there's no real collaboration with researchers on how some of these things can be done. Director is here. When you come to CSIR or Ghana Atomic Energy Commission, you have energetic young men and women who can help us deal with some of these issues. So we are appealing to government to take the opportunity, because we have the human resource. We have the human resource to do this work. So we are appealing to government to help us in doing this. We also, like others have said, there should be a moratorium on small-scale mining. We should see some changes, because we can't do the same wrong things all the time. We should see some real changes in our water bodies. Because as we are here, we've heard there was a time that you hear the sea has been closed. Why do we close the sea? So that at the proper time we'll have bumper harvest. If our waters are not good and we are suffering from it, why can't we also put a moratorium on small-scale mining and illegal mining for a period? If it's 1 year, depending on what research will tell you, can reclaim the water, because water is life. water is life. Also, we also want to say that because of, in our statement, government can create livelihood alternatives for those in the mining areas, because we know why they are doing the mining. We know, if we say we don't know why they are mining, then we are wrong. So when we have livelihood alternatives, some have been tried, but you see, the way we go about it, when we have a thorough one, because we know we are going to put a moratorium on mining, we sit down, design something that will be lasting. That when you go there, you know, because the person mining is also having a relative maybe suffering from what Galamsey is doing to the community. But when we have an alternative for people in mining, I'm sure maybe the money will not be as good as Galamsey, but as rational human beings as we are, and with the law backing it, I'm not sure those people will even attempt to go back and do what we are calling for, this illegal mining. So we believe that there's a lot we can do as people in Ghana. And the last thing I want to say is that organized labor has spoken, but we are not speaking as a body. This is affecting Ghana. It's not only affecting a group of people in Ghana. So for us as research scientists, we believe everybody should speak. Everybody should think Galamsey is a problem. We should start speaking about Galamsey in our homes. What are the remedies? What can we do? What can we also do to help government's effort of solving Galamsey? And when we do some of these things, we have to catch them young. We have kids coming up today. They don't know what really we are doing about Galamsey. All they hear is Galamsey. What are we doing as a people to help in taking this canker off our system? So for us, maybe we'll share our press release and most of the things that I say. We also believe there should be a proper national dialogue of all stakeholders, because this thing cannot be done by government alone. Government will have to bring solutions, civil society, research organizations, we all have to come together and look at a document that we can use to help mitigate this issue of Galamsey. The human resource, like I said already, abounds in the country. So we shouldn't leave this thing alone on a few people. It concerns you, it concerns me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Dr. Frank Kwashi is the Vice President of the Research Scientists Association with the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission there. The things that we don't see with our bare eyes, they see it, and that's a threat that we're faced with. And to lead us straight into the panel conversation, I want to lay the foundation about the issues about security. Government's first approach to dealing with illegal mining, at least from 2017, was to deploy the military. And we saw all the issues that are played out. There was Operation Vanguard, then Operation Halt 1 and 2, and a few others as well. A man who was closely associated with the first operation will give us a brief foundation layout of what exactly we need to do going forward. What next? Because now the government is talking about the deployment of the police after the military. So is this the way to go? Dr. Jamal Tonzwa is a lecturer at the Gempa Law School and also former legal advisor to Operation Vanguard. Please, let's put our hands together for him. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the microphone work? Okay. Thank you very much, and good morning to you all. We stand at a defining moment where we may get it right, or we may continue to fail, just as we have done over the years. For me, what is exciting is that there are lessons to be learned from our failures. One of the things that we need to do, let's start with the question, where are we and what are we contending with? I am a bit disheartened when I hear that we have a national security crisis, we have a food security crisis and all that, and the speaker that came before me just talked about lack of coordination of a sort. I want to add to that and say that politicians are very smart people. They are listening to us, and they are seeing all the weaknesses in the current discussions. What do we need to do next? What we need to do is shape the game. Take the rules away from the politicians. Is there anyone in this room who doubts that the leadership of this country is helpless as far as this Galamsey fight is concerned? Is there anyone? Right. The organizers of this program started, Mustafa has left us, he alluded to Article 1.1 of the Constitution, power and sovereignty resides in us and must be exercised in our interest and for our welfare. I would add to that, and at the end of this, my recommendation, and I'm asking, why is the why is the Council of State quiet on this matter? Why is Parliament pretending as if Article 278 of the Constitution doesn't exist? Of course, Opana is old, and probably his glasses are not even working well. He may have forgotten about Article 278. All that I am preparing your minds for is that this problem should be framed properly. The true framing is not that we have a national security crisis, we have an environmental crisis. The true framing is that we have a governance crisis, and at the heart of that governance crisis, we have structural institutional weaknesses, and that is where the action must be. Look, if we tell the politicians it's a national security problem, they will only give you Operation Vanguard again. If we tell them it's a food security problem, we'll see them addressing agriculture. Politicians are short-term in their approaches. Let us take the rules away from them. It is a governance crisis. It is a structural institutional problem. And underlying it are all the manifestations we are talking about. We do not need management of the manifestations or the symptoms. We need actions that will target frontally the causes. A cure is what we need. How do we do this? The basic thing, we cannot pretend about it, an earlier speaker said it, is that there is no political will and commitment to fight Galamsey because there are vested interests in illegal mining in Ghana. And so if we leave the rules to people who are benefiting from it, they would only address the short-term woes that we have identified, do their best and leave. What I think we should do is we need a sustained and a coordinated action, just as my brother from GAEC has said. Look, even as of 2017, we did not need to tinker with any of our laws. I mean, aside the LI we are talking about, if we're going to enforce them, we could have addressed this problem. And so I don't think we need to be talking about legislation again. I don't think we need to be talking about institutions. We need to resource them. We need to put resources where we get the best possible results and not just giving us boots in the field where we don't need them for more than 3 months. And I'm talking about the security forces. We don't need arrests, which will run into several thousands of suspected illegal miners, whereas we have no idea about what to do with them in the criminal justice system, and we have not prepared. Look, the hotspots of illegal mining were Bekwa, Obuasi, Dunkwa-Onofin, Chichore, and then Ayamfuri, all the way to Takwa, Bogosu, and all that. At the time, it will surprise you to know that only one judge sat in the courts of Obuasi, Bekwa, and Dunkwa-Onofin. Can you imagine? Were we prepared to beyond what Operation Vanguard would do by way of arrests, immobilization of what would become exhibits in court? What were we going to do with them? to throw them in the air and say, hey, these are the statistics, this is the progress we are making? Is that a fair indicator? Is that backed by sound policy, science, data? What does it mean when we have institutions like Forestry Commission, Water Resources Commission, the Minerals Commission, and they are working in silos? What does it mean when we are not resourcing them? Even the military did not have what they needed to do their work. Why were we deliberate in not complementing the effort of the boots with technology? Why were the drones never given to the military? Why did the trackers never work on the excavators? Why did we not use satellite technology? Because we didn't tell the politicians we know what should be done. We just told them that, oh, national security, we have an institution, we put them there, and they gave it to us. We must tell them that we know what we want. We must be data-driven and evidence-based in this new approach. How should we do it? Now I come to Article 278 of our Constitution. The sovereignty of Ghana resides in each one of us and all of us collectively, and must be exercised in our interest and for our well-being. Article 278 of the Constitution tells us that where the executive, the president, believes that a matter is in the public interest, he should set up a committee of inquiry that will look into it fully, fairly, and impartially. The president is a lawyer. He recently received a lifetime achievement at the Ghana Bar Association recent General Assembly. But the point is, if the president overlooks this because of political expedience, Parliament can by resolution request that he does that. And Article 278. The Council of State, who should be his conscience, his eyes, and his mind, have a mandate there. Ladies and gentlemen, all that I'm saying is that we've moved in a circle. We've come to a point that we must come to the realization that the true power and the real solution lies in us. How should we exercise it? Let us tell them that we need a commission of inquiry to go and give us a more structured, full, impartial, data-based analysis of the problem. Let the problem guide us, and let us have an independent body of experts. We've seen Ken Ashibe and all the rest, most of you are here, who would lead the process. Let there be transparency, that every day any Ghanaian can know where are we and what monitoring indicators are we using, and let us strengthen mechanisms of accountability, that any of us can walk to an institution and say that, look, we are demanding accountability from you, or we are demanding accountability for illegal miners. And finally, let's ensure that the process would be inclusive, especially the youth must be there. I volunteer to be there, and I am happy to say that my law firm is actually the one leading the fight to revoke the LI. Thank you very much, and I wish you a successful deliberation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Jamal Tonzo. Thank you. Appreciate it. Now, that leads us to our panel conversation this morning. And to deliberate with the panel members and to lead this conversation, my colleague Beatrice Edu. Please, let's put our hands together as we welcome Beatrice, the moderator for this panel conversation. Oh, put your hands together. She's wearing red. Red means danger. Danger against illegal mining. There are so many people wearing red here. Welcome, Beatrice.
Thank you so much, Alfred Okanse. And I also stand on all protocols which have already been observed. And indeed, this is a very serious issue, and it's time to take action. We've spoken enough. And you're still here with our dialogue talking about this very important topic, the need for us to end illegal mining. And well, we've heard some of our speakers talking about even small-scale mining, adding that moratorium to it. When we come back, we'll go into that panel discussion and really go into some of the nitty-gritties that we could not explore in the speeches that have been delivered, and really moving forward what we must do. We've just had a bit of that from the man who was part of the first operation to deal with illegal mining. Don't go away, stay with us.
2 years ago, I exposed the grievous conditions of this morgue, hoping for a change. Today, the neglect has worsened and the crisis deepens with no one seeming to care.
Everybody is sick at the mortuary. They are all dying.
That is not how a functioning mortuary should be. We don't have a city morgue in Accra.
I am Godwin Asideba. Join me as we uncover the haunting truth behind this decaying morgue. Don't miss the shocking revelations in Troubled Morgue. Troubled Morgue, coming soon.
When the sun rises, there is hope. While this hope lingers on, the citizens look up to the government, the economy, the national development agenda, and everything in between.
On Ghana Tonight, it's our utmost priority to bring you insightful conversations on the economy, break down the biggest issues while setting the agenda for transformation and national development. The big and important stories are treated from the human interest angle, while the facts and the figures are painted with precision. So now, let's cut the convention and start the conversation here on Ghana Tonight. I am your host, Alfred Okamse.
Ghana Tonight shows Monday to Friday at 10 p.m. on TV3. Brought to you by
Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior. In a world where every moment counts, one team stands ready to deliver the news that shapes our lives. A team driven by truth, integrity, and unwavering dedication. They travel to the front lines in the tireless pursuit of truth to bring you the world stories like never before. Get ready to witness the stories that matter. We have the most trusted voices in journalism who are committed to delivering accurate, balanced, and thought-provoking news. TV3 News.
A story of luck, triumph, and overcoming adversities in life. Change Yiwu, a rich playboy, is forced.
Let's break. I won't forget you either.
So Jong Hee, a free-spirited girl who's willing to do many things for the right amount of money. Ching opens a day drinking bar, which he calls Siesta, with So Jong Hee as his part-time partner. Seo Yi-ji, the sister of Chin's deceased best friend, whom he feels responsible for, bullies Chin into being her boyfriend. While So Jong-hee's best friend, Kim, has always been in love with her but has never had the guts to confess it. Will these people brave the odds and fall in love? What tragedy made Chin Yi-woo run away from home in the first place? Will Siesta Bar flourish or will it fail? Find out all the answers and more in this unmissable Korean drama, Casting a Spell to You.
Shows Monday to Fridays at 4 p.m. only on TV3.
For Asante Achim North, Andy Apia Kubi, he's sitting just right here as well. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. And of course, we also do have the man who's been joining the fight, Awula and the rest, against this ally that we've been talking about since the discussion on this very subject, Darubosu, Deputy Director, Arocha Ghana. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Last but not the least here, Professor Michael Say Achinabona, Acting Director General, Council for Scientific Research at CSIR. Thank you so much, sir. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. So we're going to delve, shall we give all our panel members a round of applause again? I think we've had quite a productive discussion so far with a man who joined the military operation, really giving us what we need to ask for. It's not like we are not clear in our minds exactly what we need and what we're seeing on the ground. And earlier, when Alfred was introducing our distinguished persons in our midst, he talked about Andy Apia Kubi and the fact that his neighbor's constituency, as it were, has some serious illegal mining going on. For your information, those involved in that constituency say that illegal mining is not illegal. And so we'll find out from him. I'll start with him exactly what he has done, what he's doing, what is the magic to ensure that there's no such activity in his constituency. So, Andy, let me start with you. What's the magic wand? What's working for you?
Thank you very much. Before I start, I think we have all seen videos of places where illegal mining are currently even ongoing. So it is not for me to say it is here or there, but at least I can talk about my own jurisdiction and confidently tell you that there is no single unit of land in my constituency where you will find illegal mining. But to start with, I heard from previous speakers that we have had efforts to even annul some of the legislation, except that I will humbly suggest that we must identify the course of action properly and the forum for the action to take. And indeed, the Constitution tells us that it is only in the Supreme Court that we can attack an existing legislation. So I spoke to the director and he said that we are in High Court, we are in the wrong place. So let's go to the appropriate forum and then prefer our challenges to whatever is the legislation. Beyond that, I think we can use a parliamentary process also, where a motion could be filed for us to attack the authenticity or veracity of the legislation. That could be a long process, and that could also bring us back into the fold of the executive. And Article 178 again invokes the power of the president to appoint committees and commissions that come to Asante Achimov and learn a case study. And the case study in Asante Achimov has not been the effort of one person. Indeed, wherever you find Galamsey ongoing, 4 groups of people, if one of them is complicit, it will happen. If all of them are not complicit, it will not happen. You mentioned the member of parliament, you mentioned the MCE, DCE, whoever, you mentioned the chiefs, and then you mentioned opinion leaders. If all of us come together to fight it, it will not happen. And that's how we've done it in Asante Achimov. And on this note, I will mention some chiefs in my area. Nana Kwekusapong, who is a man of Agogo, traditional. He himself personally, when some people attempted to start somewhere, he himself called me and said, and he let it know, and it did not happen to them. There is power within the Constitution to allow civil society to even arrest when somebody is in the process of causing havoc to community, society, and indeed breaching our laws. Nana called me, we went there, we arrested, we prosecuted, we punished them, and then we seized their equipment and all that. It didn't happen. Nana Bafo Usubidiakum, Omahine of Domiabra, he called me that the people were coming to the street. The same night that they came, the same night they left. And we arrested them. Indeed, we punished them. Civil punishment. I'm not recommending that. But when we are so provoked in the society where we say we don't want it, we need to send the warning to you so that the others also learn that they won't come. And I have ever told Minerals Commission that you can give the certificates in Accra, but you need to show them where to mine. But definitely not in our area. Because we are united in this purpose. Myself, my MCE, my chiefs, and I've mentioned their names, calling us to go and make sure we drive them away. There is a site in Pechireche where some miners put up a building. We drove them out of that building. We are giving to our teachers to live in. They will not come back because we will not allow them. And I'm saying this because if all of us say that we will not allow, the power of the community is stronger than the power of any one individual.
So, Mr. Akubi, what I hear you say is that all the areas where we have illegal mining going on vibrantly, the MPs are indirectly.
I am telling you that one of the people I mentioned will be complicit before it will happen. at least one of them will be complicit. If all of them say we will not allow, and we have not allowed them, indeed there were occasions where we had to seize their goods, their equipments, send them to the police. In fact, I had crossed jurisdiction to go and attack illegal miners because the river on which they were mining is the same river that serves all of us in the enclave. And therefore, we will not say, because it's out of my jurisdiction, I will not go and attempt, except that on that occasion where they ran away and left the gold, I could not see it because I don't know what gold is, because the calamity that befell me on the day. But at least the warning went to them that we will not allow them to destroy our water bodies. So my prescription is that let's all do it. I heard one of them say that leadership of the country is helpless. Community society is helpless. Everybody is helpless. Not only leadership of society. It is all of us. And indeed, when people were appointed and were given shadows to go and manage, they should have told them right there that this is what we want to do and we will do it to the letter. In fact, when you had an invitation to come here, I advertised that on our MP's platform. So many of them were discouraging me to come because they think that Mr. So-and-so is MPDC, so-and-so. I go beyond politics.
So, Mr. Piagubi, I would want the other panel members to also give their preliminary thoughts on what has been said so far and why we have allowed ourselves to get, to have our water bodies and our environment polluted. But very briefly, and if you could answer it in like...
Briefly, I think this thing should be devoid of politics. I go beyond politics. And whoever has not performed in the capacity he has been given opportunity to serve, not as a politician. And somebody said that politicians are... Look, we could have qualified that with some. I am not that type of politician who will succumb to intimidation and influence. No. If it's not true, it is not true. If it's wrong, it is wrong. And let us behave like that as citizens of the country. Thank you.
I know you called the AG out when he said that those names that were named in Professor Frimpong Boateng's report, there was no evidence to prosecute them. I know you called him out on that. So what's passed? What 2022? What did you do? I know you're one out of 270.
Let us go through the process quickly. When an LI is filed in Parliament, it is the work of the state institution that brings the LI. We have no power to affect the content, except that we can vote by two-thirds majority to reject the whole legislation.
Did you?
No, we did not, because 2022, indeed, when the LI was filed, some of us disagreed. But you need 22 of that parliamentary majority to be able to reject it. We call for pre-laying conferencing. And pre-laying conferencing is where we even consider the legislation paragraph by paragraph. And the pre-laying conferencing did not happen. And the law says that if it is laid for 21 days without any objections, it comes into law. The fact is also that you as a person cannot affect it if you don't have your numbers. You will waste your time if you raise it even in a memo and it is not supported by two-thirds. It is difficult. It is only the leadership of Parliament that can whip the two-thirds for you to be successful. But again, the leadership of Parliament is also being influenced by executive. And that is where the law must speak clearly that Parliament must also have independence. And when the president will appoint leaders of Parliament, and the leaders of Parliament will take instructions from executive, and come and whip all of you to support it. Parliament is unable to do its work.
I mean, obviously, you're trying to say that the separation of powers that we have in our constitution hasn't worked.
It hasn't worked.
And therefore, it is affecting checks and balances.
When we are in Parliament, we cannot vote for our leaders. And somebody outside Parliament will have to select leaders for us. That is the failure in the law and the constitution, and we must address that.
I saw you, Darobosu, smiling when Honorable Apiakubi was talking, and the seeming inability on his part to prevent this law, legislative instrument, from coming into effect. Now, it took a group like Arocha Ghana and Awole's group to want to go to the court to repeal this. And
but again, go to the proper court.
Okay, so they would answer that. So I want to really get your preliminary thoughts on what he's just submitted, and indeed why, from where you sit, beyond all that we've heard, we've allowed ourselves to allow illegal mining to damage our environment, water bodies, and we are even talking about our very lives because people are suffering from kidney diseases and the rest.
You see that Article 268 of the Constitution, it gives power to Parliament to ratify all contracts. But 2682 says that except that we can give the power to somebody else. So, and that's where the problem starts.
Mr. Apiakubi, I'll come back to you. I just want Darobosu to give us his thoughts.
Yes, so thank you very much. I just want to say that, I mean, there's been everything wrong with an LI which allows for mining and forest reserves. We would have said that some consultation would have been very crucial. I mean, I know that there's some antecedent to this. I mean, Ghana has had guidelines for a long time, as far back as 1990, which says to regulate, or I would say guide the operation of mining in what they call production reserves. So our legal frameworks and even our policy frameworks clearly abhors mining in forest reserves. But some time back, they realized that notwithstanding, some activities of mining was going on in some forest reserves. So they said, okay, let's come out with some guidelines, but these guidelines are only going to permit some level of mining, not more than 2% of all forest reserves together in production forest reserves. I say production because Ghana has got two categories of forest. Those that are considered protected entirely and those that are production. So we've been working with this for for over 20 years now, and then we realized discussions started with civil society and government, and the whole idea was that, look, despite the fact that there are guidelines, there are some operations of mining damaging our forest reserves. So how do we strengthen those guidelines and even prevent more mining from happening? At the same time, we have been pushing for new guidelines and actually policy framework that was saying that by 2030, Ghana would have completely excluded mining activities from all our forest reserves. So to our shock, CSO's shock, we come somewhere in 2023, and then we hear that the government has passed a law, LI 2462, allowing for the government and the executive to decide that, look, if it's a protected forest and they see certain minerals there, they will be given the opportunity to mine. Now, this is quite contrary to every protection or every policy framework of excluding mining from our forest reserves. So for us, even the process that led to that LI being passed was problematic. And that's why we say that it was clandestine. It was meant to actually evade the watchful eyes of civil society so they could have their... And the way we say it, all intent and purpose was to have access to our forest reserves to mine them without considering the risks associated with it. And like you said, I mean, the issue as to what happened in Parliament, I'm very happy that the Honorable has been very open about the processes and what's really transpired. It's been very difficult to get information, and clearly we even think that even in Parliament, the process for which the document came out for discussion did not follow as it is. And like you said, there was supposed to have been a conference, all of that didn't happen. I mean, a lot of things, we tried to do some follow-up. We saw that some stages were skipped. So it tells you that there was some intention, deliberate intention, to get access to our forest reserves. And now we see it. As we speak, there are about 24 forest reserves, which are now under the application for mining, and 12 of them are targeted, and they are all protected forest reserves. And for the 12 of them, mining applications or leases have been granted. All that we are waiting is for these companies to move in and start destroying the forest, which is very unfortunate.
Let me, if you're done with your thoughts, let me come to you, Awula. And he just talked about the clandestine nature under which this LI was passed. And one of the things that struck me when I was looking at it was even the name, Environment Protection and Regulations 2022 LI 2462. Let me just get your thoughts on briefly, and also on why you think we've allowed ourselves to come here beyond what they've said.
Thank you very much. Before I start, with your permission, I want to say that we think it's a travesty that demonstrators, unarmed demonstrators who were protesting against this canker, against our being poisoned, we are all being poisoned to death, against the existential threat we face, they have rather been incarcerated. And those who are destroying Ghana with impunity are walking free. Destruction is taking place in broad daylight and they're walking free. So I think this is a travesty. And as a lawyer, I do feel that it's bringing our justice system into disrepute, because people are asking me, why were they refused bail? Were they plotting a coup? Were they murderers? Were they rapists? Why should they be denied bail? So I thought I had to say this before I began. But to add to what my brother Darrell said.
And I'm sorry, let me just stay a bit longer on that. They've been incarcerated for 2 weeks, and I'm sure you're aware of that.
Well, they've been remanded in custody for 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks.
And I'm told, because was not there, so I'm relying on what I've been told, that the others were not even brought to court. And we all know what our rights are. Regardless of what has taken place, they were trying to raise awareness about something that is affecting each and every one of us. And let me say this, the water you have here, it's being treated, but it's not being treated to remove mercury. So we could be drinking mercury, like has been said before. I mean, I find it very difficult to get it around my head that we could muster the number of police officers we got there. And yet when people are in broad daylight on the water bodies, we can't do anything. So I think that this is wrong, and all of us should add our voices to say, release these persons, release them.
Do you intend to do anything about it just before you go to your...
Well, we've added our voices that they should be released. I didn't join the demonstration because we had a press conference organized by Media Against Galamsey and others. And my understanding was that we're giving the government up to the 30th of September to meet our demands, which I'll repeat here, failing which would advise ourselves. So I was saying that, well, if I'm being part of a meeting that has given a deadline, then we'll wait for the deadline. But we're not waiting quietly. Whilst we are waiting, we're still drawing awareness to the canker that's going on. I don't have to list it. The GMA has spoken. We know the rise in kidney disease, neurological challenges. We know about the stillbirths, deformed babies. I mean, we know about the loss of livelihood for farmers and fishermen. We know about what is happening. So I don't think we need to spend time on the situation. What we need to do is focus on the solutions. How do we get out of this mess? And as I've been saying, if the firefighters are the arsonists, then you have a real problem. And I like what our MP said, because he's spoken truth. It is true. I remember the case of Atronsu in the Western North region. They have resisted community mining, and we have a case in court. A few weeks ago, we heard that excavators were finding their way to Atronsu. And I personally contacted the regional minister and informed him about what was going on. To cut a long story short, the excavators found their way there, destroyed cocoa farms, and some of our activists are cocoa farmers, and polluted the once pristine Atronsu stream. It was so pristine. I mean, the water was like this. They used to boast that it's better than Baltic. And despite what we did, they were continuing with their illegal mining. It took the intervention of, we managed to contact the former commander, and to cut a long story short, we commend the former commander and the current one, and they put an end to it. They haven't been prosecuted yet. I'm told that they were arrested and they're out on bail. So they are out on bail, but the protesters are in custody. What kind of justice system do we have? So I want to say that I agree with what you said, that if there's a wall and there's a gap in the wall, that is when the illegal miners will come in. Had those who had the authority to stop the Atronsu stream from being poisoned did their work, it wouldn't have happened. And I want to point to the example of Gemma. We have Father JB and others who are doing a fantastic job. And Gemma has no illegal mining, although the neighboring communities might have, because people have stood firm. In their case, the chief is even ill. He's had a stroke. They've tried to bribe him, but he has resisted, put his community first, and has said no mining, whether small scale, whatever, no mining to destroy my environment. So, and then just to add to what you said, I think that LI 2462 is a perverse piece of legislation because you cover it under protection of forest reserves. So everybody thinks you are coming to protect when you know that you are coming to destroy. And it's not just forest reserves, it includes globally significant biodiversity areas. We've talked about biodiversity. So who in his right mind, who has the interests of Ghanaians at heart, will think of passing LI 2462? It's perverse. And thank God a group of organizations have come together to challenge it.
And we'll go into that as well as the main discussion. But since we have the arrest of the protesters on the floor, I just want to get your brief comment on what is happening now. I'm coming to you, General Nunu Mensah. I mean, we just heard Awula saying that this is a travesty of justice, really. Why are we arresting people who have not gone to burn things or destroy things? I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on this. Please, your microphone, sir. Use your microphone.
Oh, I want to go back a little bit. First of all, talk slightly about myself. I've been introduced as National Security Advisor. That doesn't impress me very much, but I was once Chief of Defense Staff. 5 years ago. And I prefer that definition more than National Security Advisor. I'm proud of it. And frankly speaking, at the age of almost 88 today, almost, this wouldn't have happened a couple of years ago. Ghana is gone. I mean, Ghana, as I knew, couldn't have seen this happening when we became independent. We were patriots. We love our country.
General, please, your mic. We still can't hear you. No, so just get it a bit closer to
A bit close to my... Okay,
Excellent,
okay.
Thank you.
I'm used to shouting without mic. That's why. You know, and this couldn't happen in my time. I get very sad. See Ghana like this. Very sad because in 1957, when it became independent, the only one, as Kesrefo was a lawyer, was a graduate. Many of the others were ordinary people. Kufuor's father, Kobodise, ordinary. But they didn't behave like this. We love Ghana. I can't imagine this happening to Ghana now. I can't imagine it. That I would do things to hurt Ghana. The leaders who love Ghana, and they taught us to love our country, and it belongs to us. We vote and elect a president who appoint ministers, hoping that they will do things in our interest. But when I see this is happening, then I wonder, where am I? Am I in Ghana?
So what you're saying is that the leaders we have don't love Ghana. That's why they're allowing this to pass. Something
has gone wrong. Something has gone wrong. Leaders in my time made mistakes, but they were genuine mistakes. I'm going to give a mining license. I saw on TV about 3 years ago, must have been this station or whatever, and the water people were drinking made me sick. And we do this to your own people when you love money? What the hell is going on? I was born in Winneba. My father was a fisherman. My mother sold in the market. I became chief of defense staff. All the fish that I knew when I was growing up, I was a fisherman's son. I was fishing before I left fishing and went to school. They have gone extinct. They have been polluted. They have killed them. Those of us who are eating that fish or those fishes are also dying. I know we are dying. We see nothing wrong with that. When you go to Parliament and make a law that will protect us, it makes, I mean, I don't know whether I'm in Ghana. I can't believe that Ghana has become like this. As I go forward, in 1996, I joined the NPP. I didn't like politics, never, and I still don't. But I was trying to become an MP to like a soldier would say, to put sense into Parliament. Because I couldn't believe that even if I was an MPP parliamentarian and something was wrong, I would never vote for it. I would do so with the military. But a good soldier can also not be a good politician. It's not going to be possible. I can never tell lies to hurt my country. In 1979, Rollins came. Many of us maybe here were not born, or if you were born, you were very small. Slaughtered in Akufu, Akufo, and others. I was chief of staff. You see, so All these things depend on our integrity, our love of our country. Because the laws that we are talking about, you give a license for someone to mine a water body and destroy it. And then we drink the water. We are all dying. I know, I'm almost 88. I won't be here for too long. Most of my colleagues have been killed by the stupidity of some of our leaders. So, when I'm here and I hear these things happening, then I wonder, see, integrity is gone. Speaking the truth, having the courage to speak the truth is gone. I don't know, my sadness goes to the fact that my children are in their 50s, my grandchildren in their 30s. And it's for them that I weep. Because if you run Ghana like this, Ghana will be no more. We are killing Ghana.
So, Jen, I want to move on to the two other guests we have, but I still haven't received an answer from what you think about the arrest of these individuals. Awula said it's travesty of justice, and others even think that we are politicizing our justice system.
It's sad that we have gone that way. I will never do that. Even I don't believe in using the military in harassing Galamsey. And the reason is very simple. I see the problem as a socio-economic problem. People are hungry. What is I would never go to do this when I was growing up in Winneba? There was a chance for me to become somebody like I did over the last couple of years. So when people are demonstrating, people are doing what they are doing, it means it's a failure of policy. We have not managed them properly.
We have not managed them properly. General, I'll come back to you, but let me get the thought of Professor Michael Say Achene Bona, Acting Director General, CSIR. Please, your microphone is just here. Briefly about the arrest and also what you think about what has been said so far.
So let me talk about what has been said so far. I think a lot has been said about the arrest, so probably I won't go that way. I think one of the things that came out clearly is about the willpower of the people. You have the political will and you have the power of the will of the people. And I think that sometimes when the political will fails, the will of the people comes strongly into force. I remember we do a lot of research, so we go around places regarding this Galamsey. And I remember we went to Oti region, just as Honorable has been saying, and this chief who said that in my community, there is not going to be any Galamsey, any mining. And he had the support of his people, and it was so great that I remember when we went to do some work, we went to the riverside, and then one of them, I gave him water. One of them, after that, he took the bottle and fetched water from the river, and he drank, and he said that our river is completely free of Galamsey. When I said they drank, you are actually surprised. In those days, you can ask General, you can ask him. Those days, when you live in the village, you go to the river, you fetch the water, and you drink the water completely free of any such heavy metals. And I must say that to some extent, maybe we have an idea, but we do not have much idea of what we are going to face in the near future regarding this Galamsey. In fact, I must say that some of them we think because we are in Accra. In fact, we have roughly about 5 river systems in this country, and all the river systems are almost gone. One of the biggest we have that seem untouched is the Volta Basin. And even in the Volta Basin, they've started mining in the black Volta and in the white Volta. And if you don't take care and protect what we have, we will be in a very serious problem. And that is why I'm saying that the will of the people in this case is very, very important. I know some places where the will of the people will be overwhelmed. However, this may be just spots, few spots. If you have places where we are determined, that's why I think that as Ghanaians, we must make sure we do what is necessary. Otherwise, the generation to come may curse us for not taking the right action we should have taken. Sometimes we think that if Pra is destroyed, it is River Pra and not us. We must know that there are other factories and businesses around these rivers. They need the water. And if the river is destroyed, where will they get their water? They will find a way of getting the water. Either they will use it just like that, or they will find a way of taking the turbidity out of the water. But the other heavy metals in the water still remain the same. Now, these produce and things that I said will come to Accra, will go to any other place. And if we don't take care, we will be sitting here eating, but some of the items will be bioaccumulated with a lot of heavy metals. And if we do not take care, it's going to be very disastrous for us. And I think that is why we need as a people to ensure that all that we got to do, we need to do. We look at the health implication, which is just so serious. I mean, you have various premature children, and especially where they use the gold. Sometimes they say that because the gold actually, sometimes you check the water body and you can't find them. You find them down within the river. In fact, CSR Water Research, where I'm the director, we've been doing a lot of research in all the river bodies. As I'm talking about, some of the people who are in the field collecting water sample to let us see the urgency and how difficult the situation is. And in fact, including mercury that you find in the water, lead and other stuffs like that are found. And these affect our children. In fact, our mothers, the pregnant women, when they take this in, because don't for mercury and other, especially mercury, it just evaporates. So when the people are dealing with the gold, it just go into, they inhale it. And the impact is against the person within the uterus, because to go through the placenta and all this. So we really need to make sure that whatever it takes, and that is why I think that you in the media, you are doing well, but I think we all need to go beyond what we are doing. Prof, and make sure that...
I'm glad you're with CSIR. I mean, we'll move on to how the other mechanisms the government brought failed, and indeed what is happening now. Now the government is talking about 5-member committee, ad hoc committee, and we'll look into that and the solutions moving forward. But I just want you to draw just a little bit more on this research you have done. How many rivers or water bodies have you sampled? What is the situation as we have now? And also about really the diseases, and I know you've spoken about it. Just give us a clear picture of what you found and how bad it is.
Okay, so we have about 5 river systems. The one, the southwestern river, you look at Pra, you look at Ankobra, you look at Ofin, River Ofin, you look at all those kind of rivers. All of the rivers are gone in terms of contamination. And especially one thing that is very critical is the turbidity of the water. In fact, for turbidity of the water, we have the unit that's called NTU. Now, this water we have has less than 5. Okay, now for water company to be able to treat the water, they need about a maximum of 2,000 NTU. Now, when we go through most of the rivers, in fact, there are some rivers that are as high as 30,000 NTU. And when you have such system, what happens is that you just can't treat the water. Because if you dare, the money that you need to put in order to treat the water, you don't have the money. Now, because of this, a lot of the rivers are just not. And then we have the rivers that are also in the Accra, the Densu. The Densu River, mining has also started in the Densu River. That is the one that we have at Weja. In the head, it had already started. In top Potrasi area and all the places, they have started the mining over there. The one, the tributary that passes through Kofodia area is also being mined. So this is very serious. Now, what also happened is that because of this turbidity that happened, it increases siltation of the river. So because of the carrying capacity of the river reduced significantly. So how much water can be carried out is gone, so that when it dries, the season is dry, you have the dry season, rivers that you're expecting to be perennial, because of the high level of siltation, you realize that the water available is not, water is dry. And climate change and other things affect all this. In fact, if you go to some of our forest places where you expect that around this time to be raining, for about 2 months, there's no rain. So the magnitude of what we are doing is very, very serious. I'll talk about the gold level, the mercury, arsenic, and all those chemicals within the rivers. In fact, when you look at the water, there are places you can still find the mercury in it, and some enough unless you go to the sediment. So when we go to the sediment, we are able to find them. There's a longitudinal study that we did that showed gradual increase from about 2012, not at 2207. You find gradual increase in levels of these heavy metal in various water bodies. And I think these are things that we need to take note of it and make sure that we put the best that we can as a people, because our life is really at risk. Because if we don't take time, now what happens is that you see the rivers, they interface with the groundwater. The rivers interface with groundwater.
And that's the boreholes and the rest that we have in our homes.
Because what is happening is that there's what we call water cycle, where you have a continuous process, where you have a river, the rivers permeating to the rocks, to the aquifer, and then aquifer, when it's necessary, also feed the river. Now, so if your river is full of turbid and other chemical pollution, it will sink down. And then also when the rivers are low in level, it also come up. Now what is happening is that if we continue this way, the next access you say that the groundwater, but the groundwater is already polluted in those areas. So you look at our village, Accra, we don't feel that much. When you look at our villages, you realize that the river that they need is not there. The groundwater they will try to access, the groundwater is also polluted. So what did they do? So that is why there are just a few options, but those options I don't think is the best. The best option is that we need to fight Galamsey and make sure that it comes to an end. Whether our politicians will help us or they will not help us, they have the power to do the best. But if they will not, we as a people must rise up and look at what intervention, what we need to do to make sure that this Galamsey come to an end. Otherwise, we may not find good water to drink. And don't forget, water is life.
And we're going to talk about the solutions just very briefly, but just indulge me. You just talked about the water bodies. Tell us about the mining on our lands. 19,000 hectares of our cocoa farms already destroyed. We heard Executive Director of Nature Development Foundation talking about 37% of our forest reserves also affected. Just tell us how it is affecting even the food we eat, because we are planting cassava, plantain, and all of those things. Just very briefly, and then we'll go to the policies that are in place now and the solutions moving forward.
In fact, the food that we eat, some of them, in fact, if it's the mining area and the food that we do, because the other heavy metals are able to go through, because once you plant it in an area where mining has occurred, and illegal mining especially had occurred, there's a level of exposure because they pour all the chemicals that are being, which they use for the extraction of the gold, they pour it over there, and that is what happened. And that is why there's the need for bioremediation, which we have this expertise and stuff to do. But it also talk about money. So sometimes when you look at the economic benefit of gold and its negative impact, you would then need to make sure that the illegal mining is stopped, because its negative impact, Go to the places. The people that are going to school, they've stopped going to school because they will get more money going for gold than going to school. That is what their mind tells them. So a lot of the people are not going to school. A lot of our children are being impregnated in the places because the people have that money. They think they have so much money. And you know, Ghana, we come to the point that a little money, people will bow for you. So the little gold money they get there, they use it to mess up the entire village. And that is why I say again, please, let's do what we have to do. Because if we don't do that, the generation after us will curse us. That we took no action, and that is what is happening to that. But the good thing is that if we can put a ban, the water will regenerate itself. And I remember when there was imposition of the ban, we did research to look at before, during, and after. And there was significant difference in terms of the quality, in terms of the color, the turbidity of the water during the imposition of the ban. The water will just regenerate itself. So I will recycle itself. So please, there is the solution. Some of the solutions are there. But we need our politicians to help us. And we thank MP for some of the things that you do. And I believe that we need more of you in our time to help Ghana save its people from a looming disaster that lies ahead of us because of the destruction to our rivers, to our land, to our forests, and to our people.
Thank you very much, Prof. A round of applause for Prof, please. And this is our continuous discussion on the fight against illegal mining. Beyond the talk, what is next? Let me tell you that if you're watching us live on TV3, there will be no News Central today. We are continuing with this conversation to try and find some answers to the many questions that have been asked, and really what is being done and how differently we're going to do what needs to be done to ensure that we bring an end to this very problem. And I'm coming to you, Brigadier General Nunu Mensah. After that, I'll come to you, Awula, and then MP for Achim, Asante Achim North. Yes. Asante Achim North. Brigadier General Nunu Mensah, we were earlier talking about the operations that we've had. I mean, when the government thought of, when President Akufo-Addo put his presidency on the line, we had Operation Vanguard and then Operation Halt 1 and 2. You're a military man. Based on your own observation, briefly, how do you think they failed? And moving forward with the kind of policies, I'm just asking you two questions in one. With the policies that we have now, is there a future really that we're going to be able to deal with this once and for all?
As a military man,
please look through the cameras for us.
I wouldn't use that way to solve the problem. You have to understand the problem is a socio-economic problem. You don't ask soldiers to boil down whatever it is with people who are hungry. I, as Chief of Defense Staff, then wouldn't have used the military for this purpose. What I would do, find the land. These are the people. You have to give them alternative. Even what we are doing, you cannot put them to go anywhere if they are hungry. They are families. They are human beings. I will look for a line or few lines somewhere at Front Plains or the north, where soldiers are there. Plenty of people want to join the army because that's the only work available in Ghana today. They are not being used for any purpose. They are paid. Need a few materials to build them like kibbutz in Israel. Settle them. Give them a place to live. And then, if you appeal to them, those who want to work will be moved to go and work. But you can't just go and sack them to go away. Live where? Feed their families. So I wouldn't have used that. I wouldn't approve. If I was with the President Akufo-Addo, I knew him very well. I would have advised him, no, don't go that way. That will not solve the problem. Get them a place to go and live. It can be done. I built O'Reilly Senior High School in 50 days. Moved O'Reilly. O'Reilly was being run down. It can be done. I didn't sleep. I'm a military man. So if that is done, You can gradually thin out these people from where they are polluting our water bodies and whatnot. It will be easier then. But just go and go, so just come and ransack them to go away. They won't go. That's not the way I would have solved it.
That's not the way you would have solved it. Now look at where we're going. Right now, with this increased calls for us to end illegal mining, the government has set up a 5-member committee. Defense Ministry is part. We have Information Ministry, as well as other ministries, 5 of them. Do you think this approach will work?
No. What they should do is go to the army, get some young Major General or somebody, a soldier, who is not. There are 2,000 soldiers. I mean, you can either have the thinkers and the booga ones. I mean, I don't want that. I'm not that type of soldier. So get them to come up with a plan. Go around Ghana at some place, get some land somewhere. Look, we are short of food now. Ghana can't easily, food become very expensive, and there's no food anywhere. So rather than throwing them out to somewhere, it will be easier to get them to move to, so they can build them accommodation within 2 or 3 months. And move them, settle them, give them machines to work and produce cassava, produce whatever it is for us. Rather than just, no, I wouldn't advise them to go this way.
You wouldn't advise them to go this way. I'm coming to you, Awula. First of all, are there clean rivers in Ghana, really, based on your own research?
Well, I mean, the Volta has not been, as has just been said, has not been as badly polluted as the others. But I would like to say that if our forefathers had been as wicked and irresponsible as we are being, we wouldn't have any forest reserves or water bodies. We'd have to go to museums to say that, oh, this is what a forest reserve in Ghana used to look like. And I think we should hang our heads in shame. But I would say that coming to the solutions, because, you know, the president put his presidency on the line 7 years ago. Part of the challenge is that the firefighters themselves are the arsonists. So how do you put out a fire when you are the one setting? I mean, let's be absolutely frank. Because we face a clear and present danger. I keep on saying we face an existential threat. We shall all perish if we keep on having meetings upon meetings upon meetings. The time for meetings is over. When the house is burning, you put out the fire. We don't now get data on how many fires there have been. We put out the fire first, then we can do other things. So I believe that what has been said by my head is all gone. What has been said so far must be done. We have to declare a state of emergency to give ourselves the necessary cloak we need to go and remove everybody from our forest reserves, not negotiable, every single person from our forest reserves and from our water bodies. Then LI 2462 obviously has to go away. It's a perverse piece of legislation.
But Awula, before you even go to the LI, you understand that the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Sami Abu-Jenapo, says there's no need to call for any state of emergency.
You see, he can say what he likes. The facts speak for themselves. For 7 years, why did we put our presidency on the line? Because we saw how bad the situation was. 7 years later, it's gone from bad to worse. The house is burning. We are being poisoned. Is this the time to be having meetings upon meetings, discussions upon discussions? I don't think there's any single sane person in Ghana who is unaware of the problem we face. We can behave like ostriches and pretend we are not understanding what is going on. The doctors have spoken. We know about the kidney disease. I have a very good friend on dialysis. You don't want to be in that situation. Even if you had millions of CDs, you don't want to be in that situation. So why are we doing what we are doing? Now, what we are doing is a war crime. You know that doing war, when you poison the source of water, is a war crime. In peacetime, we are poisoning the source of water. And I'll say it again. We could muster the police to go and arrest unarmed demonstrators, but we're allowing people to poison our water bodies while we just look on. So I would say, let's get on with the situation. Go to the forest reserve. Get rid of everybody there, whether they have a license or not, because nobody has a license to poison our water bodies. And as has been said, a lot of our rivers take their sources from the forest, whether in Atiwa Forest, the Draw River Forest, whatever. Get everybody out. Repeal that perverse piece of legislation. Whilst we are at it, let's also get rid of EI 144, which is taking away the lungs of Accra. Achimota Forest is one of the last remaining forest reserves in Accra. Who in his right sense wants to declassify any portion of it? And then we need to be sure that we are going to deal with Professor Frimpong Boateng's report and go into the allegations that were made. Because
who should deal with it? The government has dismissed that report. You also heard the AG saying that there was no evidence to even prosecute the top officials who were named.
You know, let's I don't think this is a forum I want to go into certain things, but let's be absolutely clear. Professor Frimpong Boateng is a very respected person. He didn't just get up and write a report. There was a lot of investigation, there's video footage. I mean, he's not just somebody walking down the street. He has written a report. Let's give it the respect it deserves. If it's mentioning people we are close to, so be it. The important thing is that we want to save Ghana. Our children will not forgive us. Our children will not forgive us. We are all complicit. As has been said, if we took a united stand, what is happening wouldn't be happening. But there's a hole in the hedge, whether it's the chiefs, whether it's the security forces, there's complicity. This scale of illegal mining would not go on if there wasn't complicity. Let me be absolutely clear. There's nothing wrong with our laws. It's enforcement. In Atronsu, for instance, when as I said, the regional minister was brought, he did nothing. I found out from the EPA that even when you have a license, that doesn't mean you can go around indulging in mining.
There's a limit.
You need, first of all, you need a permit from the EPA. You also need a digging permit. People just brandish licenses and then they go around digging water bodies, and the monitoring agencies stand idly by. And that is why we said stop all small-scale mining, because even with the big ones, we can't monitor. We are allergic to enforcement. Whether it's noise pollution, whatever laws there are, we are allergic to enforcement. So when you can't even enforce when it's a few big ones, how can you enforce when there are thousands of small-scale miners? You can't do it. So let's stop it all. Let's stop issuing licenses. And then maybe sanity will begin to prevail.
I heard you talk about the fact that we're behaving like ostriches. You think that what is happening now is a manifestation of indirect, quote-unquote, dishonesty on the part of those supposed to deal with it?
Well, as I keep on saying, the facts speak for themselves. If you live in Ghana, you cannot tell me that the media have done a brilliant job. You cannot tell me that you don't know what is going on. So if you pretend that it's just meetings upon meetings that's going to solve the problem, you're either deceiving yourself or this is pure wickedness. Because people are being poisoned as we speak. Even us in Accra, are we 100% sure? I went to the launch of, is it Poison for Gold? And the Minerals Commission chief executive said, when he was a child, he drank tap water. But he would not allow his children today to drink tap water because he cannot trust Ghana water about the state of the water. This is telling. You will not allow your children to drink tap water. What about the children of other people who can't afford the mineral water? Even the mineral water, do we actually know what we are drinking? So what is going on is pure criminality. And some of us want to pretend that we are having discussions to solve the problem. We know what the problem is. We know what the solutions are. Let's get on with it.
Thank you very much, Awola. I will come to you, Daryl, but I want to get a thought of Andy Apiakubi. I know you haven't commented on the description of the arrest of unarmed civilians who are protesting against this fight, and also whether or not you think this new approach from the government, setting up a 5-member committee. We understand at this stage they are meeting stakeholders, consultative of a sort. You are also in Parliament. Really, your thoughts on what's going on now?
My sister, thank you very much. First and foremost, let us try and take politics out of discussions on this Galamsey because it is a national issue. Because Galamsey started in Ghana in 1989 when the small-scale mining law was passed, PNDC law 218. And the law on mercury, PNDC law 217 was passed also in 1989. And then in 2006, there was the Mining and Minerals Law Act 713, which was also passed and consolidated all the mining laws into an act of parliament. Pursuant to 2006, we have seen governments who have allowed mining, small scale, and whatever to prevail in Ghana. So all of us, we are all part of the creation of the problem. So let's take politics out of it. Sometimes I've seen my brother Abu Jinapo come from a mining site so devastated he would do something if he had the power to do what all of us can do. So let's not just leave the trouble to him alone. He cannot solve it. Now come back to the demonstration and the consequences thereof. Well, everybody has a right under the law to exercise that right to demonstrate. But every right is also associated with some responsibility. The fact of you demonstrating against some happening that you disagree with doesn't also give you the right to come and vandalize my property. If I'm selling along the street and you come throwing stones at my doors and my glasses, and I mean, is it part of your demonstration? Obviously not.
But that's not exactly what happened.
I'm coming. So let us also demonstrate responsibly so that the law will also protect us to do our demonstration to the health. And I saw some demonstration in Kumasi when the Electoral Commission's office was being vandalized. I think that it is wrong. I would have joined the demonstration of yesterday if it was tailored to meet the expectations of civil society in respect of Galamsey without the politics, because I won't support anybody in politics in this. We have all failed. But I haven't seen the charge sheet. I'm a lawyer, so I have to speak to the law.
Yes,
I haven't seen the charge sheet, and therefore I cannot speak specifically to why they were remanded. But granted that they have been put in custody, and the lawyers, don't lift up your hand in despair. There is a process. You need to go on appeal on that. And indeed, I did the case of Republic versus Amina Mohammed. It was a public interest case. And anytime I went to court to apply for a bail and move the motion on bail, I had an appeal in my pocket. In the event that that appeal did not succeed, that motion did not succeed, I will proceed to the Court of Appeal or to a High Court in the case that we were doing at the Circuit Court, to the High Court immediately to file my application, and rely on the case of Martin Edmidu versus the Attorney General. And he says that all cases or offenses are bailable. So rely on that locus classicus and make your appeal forcefully so that you press for the bail application to succeed. So it is not forgone that they will stay in custody. Please, let's exploit the law. And in some of these cases...
Please use your microphone for us.
Some of these cases, you can, and indeed, in the case of the application to annul the LI, those in court, you can get me on your side. I'll be there to do the advocacy for you because I have applied to the Supreme Court to cancel some laws that are inconsistent with Constitution. So I have the flyer to do that one. So if anybody consults me, I will work on pro bono. So because this is a public interest case. But I'm saying that if you have a good case, but you are doing the case in the wrong law court, you will not get what you need. So let's do it right so that we can get the dividend of our labor. Now, going to the scientists have told us the consequences of our actions and inactions in the fight against Galamsey. And I say this, that we have given you a blueprint. If you want to adopt it, fine. And I'm saying that all of us must put our efforts to fight this canker because it is there to destroy all of us. And people are coming with all kinds of justifications, albeit economic. You know, economic justification cannot give us an override over criminality. So if you are doing something that is criminal, otherwise we will say that let's leave the murderers to go and murder so that they take people's money, and that is making money. No, law is law. Crime is crime. Crime is of no color. And if we find that this is criminal, no matter the benefits that will accrue to a beneficiary, it is still criminal, and let us prevent it and prosecute people who attempt to do that.
Prosecute people. I think that's an interesting bit because now the conversation is about catching the big fishes.
Okay, now let me come to Brigadier gave us a solution also. Let us not forget. You see, the moment you put military clothing on somebody, you change his attitude, you change his thought processes, and you change his responses to disciplinary codes. So if it is the clothing of people who will get them to the farms to do the work for all of us, put the clothing on them, and let them respond to the disciplinary procedure, and let them be productive in the economy. So it's a good suggestion. I think that leaders must think about that. Let's get more of those idle hands who are rather using those hands in Galamsey into the military, so that the military culture will direct them into productive areas and all of us will benefit.
I'm wondering what Bosu thinks about this, but let me come to you on really whether or not you think this new approach, 5-member committee, is what we need, and some of the recommendations from Andy and, of course, Major General Brigadier Nunu Mensah.
Okay, thank you very much. Before I go on to that question directly, let me differ from the Honorable's points that Galamsey is not about politics. I think this is a political issue. The politicians have made it a political issue. I mean, you hear organized labor talking about a cessation of mining in our forest reserves and rivers. And at the same time, a week after that or 2 weeks after that, they are launching miners for Bawumia. If you go down, I mean, the Fort Estate did an investigation and tried to find out who are those who are getting all the concessions to mine our forest reserves. And all of them are coming from people within the current government. That is problematic. It's already politicized. Go right now to the ground and check who has concessions to do community mining. Who are those who own those mines? They belong to people within the current government. So it's already been politicized right from the word go. And for as long as it involves the allocation of resources to people either close to us or even familiar with us, is a political issue. And whether we like it or not, we need to admit that that is what it has come to. So to that extent, I think we need to also take it, because if you look at all the actions that are also being preferred, it's also being preferred to speak to somebody's term of office, whether it's going to allow them to win. I mean, I was very sad to hear that the last time we tried to act against Galamsey, we lost votes in certain areas. That is not leadership. That is looking at garnering vote because they really want to serve the people, but rather they want the vote because they want to look at their own interests as a political entity. So to that extent, I think that is a political matter and needs to be discussed aside. Now, let's look at the points of the action of whether we need an ad hoc committee. I agree with Awula Sewa when she says that we've done too much talking. I mean, where has the ministry been? I mean, what have they been doing all these years? After the work of Operation Hot, Operation Vanguard, what have they been doing? Are they telling us that they've just been sitting in the office, not doing a regular evaluation of what is happening, and so therefore already proposing what needs to be done? It takes the outcry before they say, let's set up an ad hoc committee. I mean, for me, I don't see the need for that. And that is why I think I agree with Media Coalition when we say, we are not meeting with you until you meet our demands. And it also came out rightly that when the organized labor met with the committee, they decided that, look, the committee was not offering anything new. So you go and listen to our demands and come back. Let's see you commit to meeting our demands, and then we'll talk. So for me, I think that we are at a point where we need to see the leadership take action. Let me add, I have to say that Honorable made a very good point, and I totally agree with him. The thing about leadership, if certain people are not complicit, there's no way Galamsey will happen. That is a fact. If you go to some of the communities, you see the police, mining is happening right behind them. The case that Professor mentioned, Potrase, the community is so agitated. They want to stop mining in Densu River. The police in the district is not ready to support them. They are fighting head and nail. They are going to the regional office. They are talking about it. They are asking for the police to act to stop a notorious miner known as Ronim, who is working at Potuase, destroying the rivers there, and nobody is paying attention. So for me, I think that the point about leadership, yes, citizens have some power, but this fight, if the leaders don't take it up, if they don't own up to it, we are just wasting our time. And that is why I am very happy that we are taking the fight to the presidency. He has control of all the machinery, the police, everything at the disposal. I don't understand why there's a decentralized system, district assemblies, DISEC, RESEC, and all of these impunities still going on. So you really see that there's really a leadership deficit when it comes to addressing the Galamsey matter. And so for me, an ad hoc committee now is not going to serve the purpose. I think we need to take the actions, and then we can say, let's talk.
An ad hoc committee is not the solution. So I'm just wondering what you think as our audience, listening really to all these comments coming in.
Reward for what you have done to see
Okay, so we'll do that, and I will come back. We'll actually come back to the panel. But please, if anybody has question, okay. So can we please give them the microphone just very briefly? We'll be wrapping up very shortly. We'll come back to you for your final words. Really, and moving forward, one day. Okay. Please, if you would just help us out. Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's go to Mr. Kariwe, right? And after that, we'll come to you, sir. Comment or question?
Thank you. I'm very excited that this program has been put together. Beyond the talk, what next? That's what we should be looking at. So when I hear people still talking about the past, then they are not looking at what is next. What is next is not the past. What is next is the future. So we should all talk about the future. And then I want to ask the Honorable MP. I've been admiring you so much, but there are many things I also disagree with you when you appear on TV. Very legitimate. You said that within the community, you have 4 people mainly. MP, MMDCs, chiefs, and then opinion leaders. If one of them does not agree, or if they don't agree, then of course the manner will happen. The question I'm asking is, when an MMDC decides to allow mining to take place, what should happen to him? If an opinion leader decides to allow mining to take place, or does not agree with the others and allow mining to take place, what should happen to him? Please, I am very much sometimes frustrated when a problem comes. We want to say that it is all of us. How dare anybody anywhere come to accuse me standing here that I am part of the people who are doing mining when I'm not doing mining? It is wrong. We are in this studio. We know who handles what. If there's a problem, deal with that person. So it is not everybody here that also has the solution. So the solution rests with our political leaders. The president has been vested with the authority, but they're abusing it. When he was appointing Professor Frimpong Boy and all those others, he will give their background, their CVs, renowned days, eminent, and so on. What was the need for that? When those people later on come and give their opinion, you reject it. So today, the problem will continue to hold the political leaders responsible. They are reckless. They are not thinking about us. They are not thinking about the future. So we must hold them accountable. And that is why we are asking, who can hold a state of emergency? It is only the president. And none of us here dare not move to the Galamsey side and say we want to stop them. It is the president. And it is his authority. So this is where I am coming from. And I think that I want you to answer this question, because that if the MMDC does not or continues to do Galamsey, what should happen to them? And those your other communities, and the example you have given, and you want us to use that as a model, I say no, because it is just a community. But a national solution cannot be what you are prescribing in your community. Thank you.
Please, okay. Okay, so let's take about 3 questions.
It's a very loaded question.
Okay, so please, let's have your answer very briefly, and then we'll come to Dr. Jamal Tan.
Doc, I very much agree with you sharing your frustration, but what I'm saying is that any one of them, if is complicit with the activities of the government, it will happen. Without them, it cannot happen. So I'm taking part of the blame. But like you're saying, if one of them misbehaves along the line, it is the whole community who will deal with him. I will tell you the case of the cattle railing in Agogo, and you heard it. A lot of trouble with us in Agogo when we rose up as a community to fight them. You see, there was one police officer who was in charge and who was supporting that activity. He got to our knowledge that night we didn't allow him to sleep there. That night we had to remove him from here, although he was the police commander. We will not entertain him. If the will is there for us to act, and in fact, I'm talking about individual community because in my community, the next community there is Galamsey. I cannot go there to do what I'm doing in my community. So I'm trying to encourage everybody in all the communities because the government is in Accra. The minister, I have seen him visit a site and come back devastated and appears, helpless. But I told him that encourage the community to fight themselves. In fact, the minister told me that he has never given any certificate under his hand to anybody to go into our river bodies. No. But even the people you give certificate to for the right places, they will still use the same certificate and go to the river bodies. So crime is crime. Let's treat them as criminals so that we deal with them. I talk about non-political nature of this because it has happened in every regime. And it will happen in other regimes to come if we don't treat it now. So the clarion call is for all of us to help treat it. And you think that you cannot affect the case in Agogo. I didn't see it. It is the chief who called me, Nana Kwekusapu, he called me and told me that go to this place. I have heard that people are doing this. In Domiabra, Nana Bafo, he called me.
Honorable, if you can wrap up in like 20 seconds.
All that I'm saying is that what you know, you can mobilize the youth. In fact, if I go to my community now, mobilize the youth, go and sack this guy, we will do it. So the people we have looked up to perform, they have not performed. Is it the case that we will throw our hands in despair? No, let's do something, all of us. But again, yesterday's demonstration.
Please, I will have to catch you here because I need to take some 3 more questions before we wrap up. We are about wrapping up. Dr. Jamal.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I want to thank Honorable and commend him for volunteering to join the public interest matter that is in court. And I also want to commend him for his leadership.
Sorry to interrupt you. Please, let our questions be very brief.
Yes.
And let me remind you that we're also live on 3FM 92.7.
Right, for his leadership in his area. But yes, but I want to hold him by his own principle. He's refusing to comment on the criminal charges because he's not seen the charge sheet. But it's convenient for him to say he only heard in this room that the action is before the High Court and he can declare very strong, with strong opinions that action will not see the light of day because it's in the wrong forum. What is the cause of action? You don't even know this. So by your own principle, we'll hold you to that. I mean, you've not read it. Honestly, you've not seen the rate. When you see the rate, then you can engage it at that level. So don't prejudice the minds of the public. Second thing is, you speak as a politician, and I understand you. It's perfectly okay. But I want us to look at science policy kind of approaches. It's not what we say to the public and how we kind of shift goalposts and play blame game. My issue is if we are going to if what we frame this problem to be is a problem of policy failure, then we must have sound policies to engage the problem. And so for me, if you are saying what works in your community should be applied everywhere, I would say those ad hoc or those kind of situational approaches do not help us. We need an overarching framework. We need one that we would have clear indicators, scientific basis of what the problems are, what we are addressing. Then we can engage the problem properly. And so let's use best practices.
If you can just wrap up in like 20 seconds for us, please.
Should speak to what approach we would use. And then let's keep the politics out of it because you are politicking a lot here.
All right, please, the next person, please. And then after that, I'll take 2. You also have a question, sir. Okay, I'll take the 2.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Mr. Nyaba wants to...
Hello.
Okay, please, go on with your comment or question.
Thank you very much.
Your name,
My name
please.
is Thomas Abuga from Upper East Region. I'm a climate change activist. Taking this debate into action, we've been calling for climate justice. in about few months, Ghanaian youth will be going for COI and Conference of Parties to also be attending. We are advocating for climate justice. I want to thank Racho Ghana yesterday for their campaign on World River Waters Day. The campaign was superb. Nice campaign for the youth. My message for Darren here is, you are giving the president an ultimatum of 30th. Why don't we take the international community on? Recently in Upper East, the matter is going beyond the country. Minors were intercepted in Navrongo, going to Sandama to do illegal mining from Burkina Faso, which is an international problem. So I think we should involve the international community here. Racho Ghana, this is for you.
Interesting perspective from there. Miners being recruited into illegal mining from Burkina Faso in Ghana. We're grateful to have Nature and Development Foundation supporting this very conversation we are having. You're live on TV3, live on 3FM 92.7. I'm coming to you, former president of the Peasant Farmers Association, Charles Nyaba. You have a question or contribution, please, you're ready to hear you.
Yeah, so the first one is a question for or a comment. I think we are doing well, but just like you said, I don't think we are biting enough. We are not biting enough. Assuming we had about 1 million or 2 million people on the street on this demonstration, do you think the police would have been able to do what they're doing? We've not reached out to many people enough. Farmers are crying day in and out. They've been calling on our various platforms. When are we going to do demonstrations? You could have reached out to all of us. So I'm urging you that from here, let's form a platform against Galamsey. Try to reach out to communities, those who are affected. By 30th, if the president doesn't act, we will force him to act. I don't think we have forced him enough. And then, Honorable, even though I agree with some of your approaches, but just like my colleague said, I think there is too much politicization in your statements. Yes. I say that because you are fighting this for your communities. What have you done in Parliament? What is your contribution to all what we are saying? We want to hear you in public condemning the president and condemning your colleagues for allowing this act to go on. Because if you are saying we shouldn't politicize it, then we continue, and this time the same thing will come. So the issue is dire now. So let's all join us. Because if you keep saying this, you continue to politicize it, and we will never end it. So to me, I think what we need now is to force our leadership to act.
Dr. Charles Nyaba, former president, Peasant Farmers Association, thank you very much. Let me come to the gentleman and the lady there, and I'll take the last question from the man who is on my left side. Please, your name and your question or contribution.
My name is Prince Ahenkra, and my question is to the organizers of this program. Why is it that we don't have a representation of these Galamseyers in this discussion? And secondly, the phrase, the fight against Galamsey, because if you tell me you are fighting me, I also prepare myself to fight back. So I think we should coin another word for that fight. There shouldn't be a fight. It can be maybe a dialogue to end Galamsey, or so I suggest that we coin another word rather than the fight.
Okay, so your problem is with the fight. Lady, please, your name and your question.
Okay, my name is Robina. And then it's obvious that many people, like the gents especially, stop school or drop out of school to do Galamsey.
The gents, you mean young boys?
Yes,
okay.
Especially. Drop out of school to do Galamsey because they want money. So if that's the case, they say, okay, there is no job, unemployment. So why can't they use the same lands that they mine to build factories, to create job opportunities for the owners of the land and then the unemployed in the society? And then why are they creating health problems in the country, knowing very well that the country, like the health system in Ghana, doesn't have solutions to most of the problems they are creating? Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Let me come to you, and you'll be the last person, and then we'll come to the panel to answer some of the questions and perhaps a contribution on the comments that have been made from the audience. Yes, sir, your name and...
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm Richard Johnson. All right, so mine is a contribution. I want to start this way, that the fight against Galamsey is political issue. We have already politicized it already because the president says he puts his presidency on the line, and the presidency is political. So if you put your presidency on the line, then it means you are politicizing it already. Okay? And what does it mean when you say you put the presidency on the line? It means that when you fail, you need to resign. So being there up to now is an indictment to that office. Secondly, you said when the minister goes to the ground or the mining areas, he comes back devastated and all that. What are we expecting him to do? If you say that you sit in your office and you give concession to people to go and mine somewhere else, and you go there and you find out that they are mining the river bodies, what are you coming to tell me to do? Okay, what are you coming to tell me to do? Yeah, it's a camouflage, it's a charade. Okay, so when you go, you give a concession to somebody to mine in Asokwa, and you go and you find out the person mining in Bekwai, and you are back crying to me, to do what we did? That we should all come together and fight it. Are we all together signing the concession in your office? That we should all come together and fight it? I am in the community, and you give concession to somebody to come and mine, and the person comes to the community with excavators and bulldozers and moving machines. How will I know that you gave the person concession to mine at Bekwai, and you're asking him to come together and fight it? No, it doesn't sound to me.
Thank you so much. I want to come to the panel here. I'll get your final words and indeed what you are committing to towards this fight to ending illegal mining in our communities. But I want to start with Andy Apiakubi because a number of the questions, and please, let's be very brief. We have about 1 minute each because we need to wrap up this conversation. A number of people addressed their questions to you. And the gentleman just even mentioned leadership. And we remember that just when this conversation started, we had Majority Chief Whip Frank Anodompre about the politicization of it, saying that NDC has polluted more water bodies than ourselves. So just briefly, in 1 minute, and then I'll come to you, and we'll just take the rest of the comments from the panel.
Thank you. Indeed, the hypocrisy is in the law itself. Article 286, the one says that Parliament will have to approve of all such concessions to people to mine our resources. 268B says, unless Parliament shall give by two-thirds majority that responsibility to another party. That is where the responsibility has now gone to Minerals Commission. And the Minerals Commission does everything and gives the license from Minerals Commission without coming to Parliament. So the law is, there is conflict between Law 1 and Law B. So that's the source of the confusion. Now, the minister presiding over that Minerals Commission is a figurehead there. All the technocrats should do everything and bring him the certificate to sign. Indeed, when he signs the certificate and gives to somebody, there is a monitoring group in the same commission who's supposed. Okay.
I think there's a problem with your. Okay, it's all right. Please go on.
There is.
And please, if you can wrap up in about 20 seconds, because I think you've already done 1 minute.
You see, there is a monitoring team in the same commission, and everybody there ought to have been empowered to do his job. The state security, everybody is there. But notwithstanding all that, we are not getting the results we need. And I am advocating, and I'm showing a blueprint. And I'm trying to advise that let us also adopt this blueprint from our individual communities and see whether we will get the results that we are getting.
Thank you very much.
If anything at all, if we want a political intervention, let all political leaders come together and make a statement, and let's hold them to it.
Thank you very much.
The president is going. But the people who are coming after him What will they do? Let them also speak.
Andy Apiakubi, thank you very much. A member of Parliament for Asante Achim North. Let me come to you, Professor Michael Say, Atwenabona, Acting Director General, CSIR.
Director of Water Research.
Director of Water. Okay, please, your final words and what you are committing to in 1 minute, because we need to wrap up now.
So I think, as I said earlier, the will of the people and the will of the government is very important. I think there was something that we're saying that the commission that have been said, I think that they have the will and the power of the government. So what they need to do, they must do quickly, and together with the powers that the government will give to them and the will of the people, made together, and I think that we will make a lot of progress. And for us, as an institution, one of our mandate is to look, research, and provide the data that can give evidence and also provide solutions. So we continue doing the research, we continue providing the data, and secondly, we're also looking at technologies to help resolve the situation. But I think it cannot be resolved when the Galamsey is still ongoing. So if it is resolved, and as we put our forces together, then the technologies that we need, the data that we need, we'll provide them so that we'll be able to return back to normalcy. And it is very possible to return our rivers to normalcy. And where we need to treat, we'll provide what it takes to treat, to be able to restore, so that our people will get the right water needed to drink.
Thank you so much, Professor Mike Osei Atwenabona. I'm coming to you. Atwenabona. Thank you very much. I'm coming to you, Brigadier General Nunu Mensah. Your final words and what you are committing to, even from where you sit.
I will go in for, not with force, right from the beginning. Force will be used only as a last resort. And we should dialogue with these people, get some institution to ease them out of what they are doing, rather than using force to get them out. That's the way it should go.
Thank you so much, Brigadier General Nunu Mensah, former National Security Advisor, former Chief of Defense Staff. I will ask your final words and what you're committing to. The microphone.
Thank you very much. I would say that, thank you very much. I would say that what is going on is environmental terrorism. And we are being poisoned. We need to sit up and understand what is going on. The time for talking is gone. We'd like to ask everybody standing for political office to subscribe to the state of emergency, driving everybody away from our forest reserve and water bodies, and also sign up to banning community mining, small-scale mining, whatever you want to call it. And as we've been told that the waters will begin to restore themselves, but we do need a ban. And we do need to understand that it's true, it may have started in 1989, but the fact of the matter is that we are unable to monitor. And I do take your point that when there's a countdown, 30th September will come, and everybody should be mobilized because we are being poisoned and we need to do something about it. The time for talking is gone. We know the solutions. And pretending to be bothered when we come from the Galamsey areas doesn't work for me. You have the power to do something about it, so do it. Don't keep on issuing mining licenses. When people have said they don't want to community mining, why are you forcing it down their throats when we know the effect of what is going on? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will ask coming to you, Darabos.
Yes, I would just say that mobilizing for action is important now. And then, yes, we are all counting down to the end of the month. So we have the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey. We are inviting all bodies, religious, CSOs, join hands. We are working and rallying behind organized labor and media coalition to really engage the government and force the hand of the president to do what is right for Ghana. I think we've waited for too long, and now is the time we need to demand that action. So join hands with us, and let's get this done. It can be done. If you don't want to see money in our forests, you won't issue licenses in the first place. If you don't want to see money in our rivers, you won't issue licenses. So why issue them and then just say that, oh, you are frustrated? So I think that it can be done. Join hands. Let's get this done. Thank you.
It can be done. It can be done. Let's join hands and bring an end to this. And that is how we bring an end to this conversation, the fight against illegal mining. Beyond the talk, what's next? We do hope that you've been able to get something as regards really the way forward and how we should fight this. I'd like to also use this opportunity to acknowledge our sponsors, Nature and Development Foundation. Remember that this conversation doesn't end here with this dialogue. It continues, so let's hear your voice. Also want to thank our panel members, Darubosu, Deputy Director, Arocha Ghana. You just heard him speak there and saw him as well. Brigadier General Nuno Mensah, former National Security Advisor, former Chief of Defense Staff. Of course, Awola Sewa, Coordinator, Eco-Conscious Citizens Ghana. Thank you also for joining us on the panel. And Diapia Kubi, Member of Parliament for Achim North, Asante Achim North. Asante Achim North. Let me just repeat that. And of course, we've also had with us the Director, Water Research Institute with the CSIR. He's currently the Acting Director General for the Commission as well, Professor Mike Osei Achinibona. I hope I got the pronunciation correctly. Thank you so much for joining us. You've been live on TV3 as well as 3FM 92.7. I've been doing this with Alfred Okanse, who is joining us just right now as we wrap up this conversation. My name is Beatrice Edu. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Beatrice, and we'll take the closing remarks from the Director of Operations of Nature and Development Foundation, Glenn Asumenin, please. Let's put our hands together for Glenn. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Alfred. Thank you, everyone, for making this possible. I've been listening to all of us. I think it's a very lively one. I expected this because of how important this whole thing is. So I had a first experience. Well, I've seen Galamsey. I grew up in Tokwa. So I saw Galamsey then and I see Galamsey now. And I had my most recent encounter with Galamsey not long ago with community mining, what they call community mining. Prof, I would want to take your word on that. You said that, many years ago, you'd go to communities and the people who would actually fetch and drink water. Then, I know you're talking about, at least 20, 30 years ago. I was in a community in Western North 2 weeks ago, and there's this Galamsey site. They call it a community mining site. 500 meters away, we got there, and the guys I was working with just took water, and with their palm, they drank water from the river. And then 500 meters down, this is where the mining is going on, and it's a mess. And then you walk 1 kilometer down, and it's mud. And we are leaving mud and clay for about 15 to 20 communities downstream. What is going to happen to them? How they are going to get water? And the interesting thing is that they had sunk a well, saying that they need to water, they need water for their cocoa, so they have sunk a well for them to use that, knowing that they were going to destroy the river. Prof, you talked about restoring the rivers. What I saw is actually a complete destruction of the river. So when it is all done, there will be no more river to restore. So this is the situation that we have there. I look at LI, based on all the comment that you have made, LI 2462, and I think it makes nonsense of many institutions in Ghana. Pardon me for my word, but I mean EPA, with this LI, I mean, what is the use of EPA? What is the use of Forestry Commission? In this era, when institutions are giving billions of dollars to countries to maintain their forest and to establish forests, all we are doing is clearing everything. So what I saw in the community, I mean, I've seen mining in forest reserves, and it's amazing. The fact that we go and see this and still sit down unconcerned. We spend so much effort, so much time. Before a logging permit is given to a timber contractor, you'll be amazed how much effort goes in. A Forestry Commission will go in and count every single tree beyond a certain diameter and say that based on this, we can give 10, we can give 20. Now, you mentioned Operation Halt in Galamsey, but before that, there was Operation Halt in forest reserves, where cocoa was actually cut down because they were destroying forest. Now, if you go into what we are doing as far as Galamsey and our forest is concerned, they clear everything, cut everything down, and then they bury all the timber. And some of this timber is so valuable, you can't just imagine. This is the situation that we have at the moment. As for the economy, I mean, you have a few individuals making so much money whilst everybody suffers. I mean, take the timber industry. I can cite the example of Samatex, which has existed for so many years. In fact, they provide electricity free of charge for their communities. They provide all sorts of amenities, you know, of the football club and all of that. This company now comes in, and in a matter of 1 week, they are clearing virtually everything that Samatex is going to rely on the next 20 or 30 years to maintain this. And yet, we sit down and observe. I mean, if you look at what is happening as far as Galamsey is concerned, it's as if our conscience as a people has just been, I don't know how to describe it. Now, I think, I mean, if you talk of the plantain, I was citing an example of the plantain. You know, on the street, you see plantains coming from wherever. You can say, yes, I live in Accra, so I care less about Galamsey. But if you are eating plantains, perhaps you should have eyes equipped with laser, so that you know that it's coming from Western region or it's coming from wherever, and which is a Galamsey site or not. So concluding, I'll say that I think we have a choice as a people. Either we continue like this, or we need to pull the brakes, all of us. We need to pull the brakes and have a rethink and see what we are going to do. And I think that it should not be a matter of a few Ghanaians against the government or against the miners. It should be all of us having a look. In fact, I think that some people have not seen what is happening. In fact, they get reports, but perhaps it's only when you go to the ground and see what is happening, then you know the decision to take. So on that note, I wish to thank TV3 for organizing this, for our panelists, for our speakers, and for the audience, everybody, for being part of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And we do appreciate all of you and also the audience. And to you, thank you. Thank you so much for coming. For those of you who've been watching us, listening to us on 3FM 92.7, on behalf of the leadership, I want to say thank you very much. The conversation continues. In fact, the hashtag we're using is use your voice. Hashtag use your voice. Because look, silence is not an option anymore in dealing with this fight against illegal mining. So please stay with us every step of the way. This is just the beginning of our continuous fight against illegal mining in our own way here at Media General. My name is Alfredo Galamsey. Good afternoon.
Galamsey is an environmental enemy for the nation. What could be more serious for any people than to have the entire water supply system at risk? So, I think as lawyers you should find space during this conference to set up a panel to undertake a quick tour of the communities where this scourge is most prevalent, to see the extent of the crisis we face and hopefully deliberate on how the law should respond. As I see it, if an individual poisons the water supply of a community, he'll be liable for severe consequences under the law. What does the law do when one pours mercury into the same water supply, knowing fully well it can kill? Zone. This issue now requires the collective effort of all sections of society. Zone. To do nothing is no longer an option. The Bar Association, the Medical Association, and the universities, in particular my university, should get together and carve a new path to deal with this emergency. Yesterday, whilst I was driving from Cape Coast, in fact, going to Cape Coast, I stopped over at the River Pra, and it was, I'm afraid I have to tell you that what I saw, the river, it was so embarrassing, and then if as a nation we live for this to happen to us, I don't know. We have to fight this. Zone. No matter what, we have to do that. Zone. Zone.